Good evening, race fans, and welcome to Podium Esports coverage of the 6th race for Season 6 of the Monday Night Racing Pro Series presented by Interstate Batteries. It is the running of the Tough Go Flooring 120, live from iRacing's virtual Canadian Tire Motorsports Park in Bowmanville, Ontario, Canada. So happy you could be joining us tonight, everybody. My name is Blake McCandless. I'll be joined alongside by my partners in the broadcast booth tonight in Kenneth Bueno and Jacob Hitz. And Kenneth, we leave an IndyCar race last week at Indianapolis Motor Speedway that I think we had a lot of names up front that we're not quite used to seeing, and also saw a tremendous battle between Presley Sora and Justin Melillo for all the marbles at the end.
It opened two things up, Blake, while watching that race. One of them was it opened up the strategy books, of course, with the runs that we had with the Indy cars, and then it just opened up the whole talent palette of everybody in M&R to what they can do up at the very front. And what a battle it was between Melillo and Presley Sora. Unfortunately, it came to a crashing end for Melillo, but it was just a battle for the ages that ultimately came to that close. And the Indiana native going to the win at Indiana. You can't script it better than that, and Sora getting his first win after his championship back in season number 5, so that's huge for him as well.
It really is, locking in the postseason after winning his championship last year. There's another opportunity, I think, tonight, Jacob, for a driver to do that. And because we're at a road course, it's much different than what we're accustomed to seeing here in Monday Night Racing competition. This is an avenue and an opportunity for a certain type of driver to take advantage of what Presley did last week in getting that win.
You're exactly right, Blake. And it's something that we used to see sort of in the olden days of NASCAR, if you will, and by that I mean 20 years ago, back when the Cup Series drivers weren't necessarily used to running on the road courses. We only had 2 on the schedule, Sonoma and Watkins Glen. We only went to them each once a year, and the Cup Series drivers looked at that weekend kind of as a throwaway. There were a couple that were really, really good there. Jeff Gordon, Tony Stewart. They'd bring in road course ringers, Boris Said, Scott Pruitt, and on. And those guys would go in and look to that weekend and say, okay, here's a shot for us to win and put ourselves in a good position the rest of the way through the season. I think that's how these guys are going to look at it here tonight. And just looking at the speed chart, some new names toward the top, some names that we're familiar with down toward the bottom. And I think because it's such an uncommon road course, at least with the next-gen car, that we're going to see a little bit more parity between the guys that are usually up front and the guys that may not be up at the front always.
Yeah, that's certainly a good point, too, and I think we're going to see that separation play out a lot tonight, and perhaps a few mistakes. I know watching practice, we've seen a number of drivers, especially in Turn 2. This is a really tough racetrack, with especially how much speed these next-gen cars are able to carry on these road courses through these corners. It makes everything very precise, and the margin for error is very thin in these race cars. So speaking of the point standing, let's go ahead and take a look as we stand before we head into the rest of our evening's festivities. Of course, we're already reaching, guys, the last couple of weeks before the end of the regular season. Only 3 races remain to try and lock in to the postseason. As you can see the standings right there on your screen. A number of different winners and some drivers that are trying to make up a lot of ground, Kenneth, right around that cut line.
And the biggest thing that I noticed when looking at these point standings is the fact that you mentioned it. There's only 3 races left in the regular season, so if you're below that cut line, or if you're not even shown on this graphic below the top 16, chances are you got to do all that you can in these next 3 races, try to get a win or at least muster enough points to get over that hump. And you watch the different drivers that have already gone to victory lane, 5 all different winners over the first 5 races. Nobody has repeated at all in season number 6, so that only continues to be a looming threat for all those guys trying to get in on points as well, because if new drivers keep winning over and over and over again, you're going to have more different winners. It's going to be less opportunities to get in just the natural way without getting a checkered flag.
And Jacob, looking at this top 12, I look at a couple of names beneath that cut line that could really use a good run tonight, or even some that are above it. Alex LeBay, he's been fast in practice tonight. He's only 3 above that cut line. Somebody like Preston Part is very accomplished in road racing. I think there's a lot right here that a couple of drivers can try to make up some ground for sure.
Well, and you look at that, there are two big names that are below the cut line, almost perennial playoff favorites every year, and Will Rogers and Rajah Caruth that are below the cut line. They're close, and I know Rajah Caruth, he struggled at certain points along the line this season. He's looking to try and get his feet back underneath him here tonight, and I think tonight could be a night to do it, but he's going to have a lot of really strong competition out on the racetrack that may make his life relatively difficult as time goes on.
Certainly so, Jacob, and even looking further down the running order, we talk, of course, about the top 35 in the standings and the cut line to try to lock your way into not only, I think, Kenneth, when you look at this season and trying to lock your way into all these races, but you got to think about Season 7 that's on the horizon, being locked into those first handful of races, and you can see the competition even back here is just as tightly contested as it is all the way up at the cut line. And by the way, Anthony Alfredo right here in 34th, been a very tough season for him. Not all of his own doing, though.
Yeah, it's definitely true. He's faced a lot of bad luck, and what's even worse is that he's sick tonight, so unfortunately he's not going to be able to race. We wish the best for Alfredo, but he has to watch this as well as everybody else around this cut line, and even a little bit below it. It's going to be a fierce battle all the way to the very end, and there's nothing better than knowing that you're locked into each and every M&R race every single Monday night. So these guys are going to try all that they can. We've seen a lot of highlights out of the batch of drivers listed here above and below the top 35. So we'll see what they can do. And like Jacob said, road courses are the opportunities for many to take advantage of all the usual ringers and veterans who may take this race a little more relaxed, so they can do all that they can, build up all those points, and make it a fight within a fight as we're looking at it.
We'll see if they can do just that. And one of the things we like to do here at M&R is have a little bit of fun. And we asked a couple of our drivers a question that may get some varied responses. Who is the biggest diva in Monday Night Racing? We'll take a look here. I think you'll enjoy this.
Biggest diva in M&R would have to be
Colin Fern, and he definitely plays it up, and he's entertaining in that respect. He'll make it sure everyone knows what he's thinking at all times, and it definitely makes the league a bit more fun.
Biggest diva in the league is definitely David Schildhaus. He just has this personality about him, and he's top of the list for me, for sure.
I could see that could go a lot of ways.
The biggest diva in the league, and I can say this from experience, spawning for and crew chiefing for James Bigford. I've seen him cry on multiple occasions by about lap 5 in a race.
Brett Palnick, easily, not even close.
Biggest diva in Monday Night Racing, not to repeat myself, would probably still be Colin Fern. Next question.
I think
Colin Fern would be the biggest diva. I mean, does he ever stop talking and complaining about things?
The biggest diva, I think, is David Schildhaus. If something doesn't go David's way, David's very much, he's complaining about something. Colin does too, but it's without a question. It's David Schildhaus.
Because, I'll admit, there's times where I get mad, but I don't go, too far with it. But there's guys who will talk, the entire time. One of them isn't in the league anymore. But I would say one of the biggest divas, I'm sorry, Alfredo. Man, when he's mad, he's mad.
honestly, I think Colin might be. Colin can kind of be a diva at times.
DJ Cummings. He, I think no matter what, he's always on the radio, talking stuff after it and kind of making some incidents a little bigger than they need to be. Granted, I do a little bit of that too, so I could probably be one of the bigger divas, but definitely DJ.
Definitely Brett Baldeck. There's no question about it. No question about it. Brett is definitely our diva, for sure.
Ooh, I don't know. I think it's a toss-up between Mark and Ford Martin.
Me. Hate losing. Love to win. And other people piss me off by breathing. That's probably too mean. I probably shouldn't say that.
And a wonderful job from our drivers there. Of course, if you're out there in the chat, we'd invite you to perhaps let us know, too, who perhaps you think might be the biggest diva in Monday Night Racing. There's a lot of continuity in those answers, and I'm sure the drivers are qualifying right now, but later on they'll go back and watch, and I'm sure a couple of them, maybe Colin in particular, will be able to look at a couple of those answers. But as mentioned, drivers are on the track right now for qualifying, and we will get going here in just a couple of moments for the running of tonight's race here at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. The Tough Go Flooring 120 will start in just a couple of moments right after this.
Visit our website at toughgoflooring.com.
Get the edge on your competition with P8 Performance Gummies. Formulated specifically for gamers and the esports industry, we packed our gummies with all the good stuff, including ingredients that are clinically proven to help tired eyes, improve reaction times, and help suppress computer vision syndrome. Take your focus and endurance to the next level and try P8 Gummies today. Now available at Procelerate.com. Plus, if you're mad about gaming, we're looking to partner with influencers just like you. Drop us a line at support at Procelerate.com to see if you qualify to try our gummies for free. It's officially game on with all new P8 gummies.
I ain't trying to bring you down, but for real, you might as well give up now. Think you got a chance, but I don't see how. Got a real tight grip when I hold that crown. My life been good and bad and all around. The more things I lost, the more I found. Everybody wanna be like us, we don't stop, cause the top just ain't enough. I'm the first one in and the last one out. Whoever owns the place gotta drag me out. Came here ready to fight on this night, you better just run for your life.
This is an Interstate battery. More pros trust this than any other out there. Yeah, more pros. More. Even more pros. Keep going, Moss. Look, we're gonna run out of time before we run out of pros who like Interstate. I mean, we'll run out of time before we even run out of left-handed pros who knit. These pros are everywhere, which means so is this battery. Right around the corner, up the street, everywhere. Interstate batteries, outrageously dependable.
Back with you here from Canadian Tire Motorsports Park as the Monday Night Racing Pro Series presented by Interstate Batteries is set to do battle for you here tonight for 1 hour and 20 minutes. We'll call it 80 minutes to make things simple tonight for the running of the Tough Go Flooring 120. And Jacob, Kenneth, I do have to say last week did not go so well in terms of the picks. Every single pick that either one of us had finished outside the top 20, so I know we got to be bringing a little bit more to the table tonight. And let's go ahead and take a look at those to see who everybody's going with tonight. And I'm going with Ronnie Osmer and Kenneth. It looks like you did not make a bad pick right there in Alex LeBay.
Yes, sir. Hopefully the luck turns around. I think the only good thing about us not scoring points from last week is that Eric and I are still neck and neck fighting over who's going to get last place or second to last, because you and Jacob have already run away with it. But Alex LeBay, the Canadian driver in his first M&R season, has already shown a lot of glimmers. We've seen so much consistency out of the 36 on the ovals and even on some of the road courses. LeBay has been so good and so strong in so many ways, but one thing that he hasn't had is a victory yet. I think in his home country, the only Canadian race we have in season number 6. I think LeBay, with his expertise and his road course knowledge, he gets to victory lane and breaks through tonight.
Well, and I don't think that's a terrible pick. Alex LeBay was the second fastest car in practice a little bit earlier on. So Alex LeBay going to be tough to beat. And Jacob Hitz, I can't fault you for that one either. Sage Karam hasn't been with us a lot here in season 6, but very accomplished on these road courses. Cannot be a bad pick to go with Sage Karam here.
Yeah, making his M&R debut tonight. Sounds like he'll be with us the rest of the season. And I tell you what, Blake, Kenneth, this may be the strongest 4 that we have picked all season long. It was an off week last week for all 4 of us, but I think we're back on track. And I like the way Karam is coming into this thing. It was fast in practice yesterday, fast in practice today, fast in qualifying today. And, you know, I'll take the new kid on the block. Give me the 43, Sage Karam. He'll win this deal. Hometown guy. Not really. Home state guy, at least, Pennsylvania.
I suppose so. And, of course, Eric Eastep, our good friend, going there with James Bickford, who's been awfully strong in qualifying. And, Kenneth, we'll take a look here at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park and walk you through what these drivers will be challenged with tonight.
Well, this is a beautiful track over in Bowmanville, Ontario, Canada. But one thing it also is, in the turns that we have, 10 total, it's very challenging. You've got a lot of elevation changes, a lot of bumps, so we'll talk about that over the course of the night, especially in coupled with the next-gen cars that we have on tap. It's a 2.459-mile, 3.957-kilometer road course, opened back in 1961, and while it hasn't raced with the Cup Series, at least in recent history or ever, it has held some NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series races in previous history. We've seen how good those finishes are in the past couple of years, and the races they've had there have been just phenomenal. So we've seen a lot of NASCAR racing in real life here, never with these Cup cars. That's going to bring a new challenge, and also pit road speed at 35 miles an hour coming off of that final corner to the front straightaway. We're also going to see strategy tonight. It's going to be a big one, so watch out for that as well.
It certainly is, as the drivers are ready to get rolling here, as we're going to take a look at the BST Shock starting grid. And on the Roasted Gems Coffee Poll Award tonight, it is your pick, Kenneth, Alex LeBay. I got to be honest, I probably would have taken Alex, but I picked him a little earlier on in the year, so I used him up for the regular season. But nevertheless, Alex LeBay for DGM Racing, 1 minute 18.545 seconds is the fastest of the bunch. And then how about a driver sporting a new livery out here tonight? Roger Caruth changing to the 024 tonight. He will start in second. You don't often think of Raja as a road course ringer, but clearly he can get it done and will be a threat for the win and to lock himself into the playoffs tonight. Sage Karam will start in third. Adam Cabot, your season 4 champion, will start in that 4th spot. You look back another row, David Schildhouse, last week's winner, will roll off 5th. Chase Cavery will start in the 6th position. Will Rogers rolls off 7th. Nick Olson will start in the 8th position tonight. And you have Ryan Vargas and Corey Heim rounding out your top 10, Kenneth.
Everybody 11th on back. It all begins with Josh Balicki, the number 79. Presley Sorrell, the driver, victorious 1 week ago at Indianapolis, looking to do it all over again outside row number 6. James Bickford, Eric Eastep's pick starts inside of row number 7, 13th, with rookie driver Joey Paget in the 83, still looking for win number 1. 14th, he will start. Gary Sexton, Reed Wilson, the 23, and the 66. 9 of the drivers inside your top 16. Bailey Turner in the 5 car rolls off P17. DJ Cummings will have to work his way to the front from P18. Colin Fern will be P19 in his number 86 Chevrolet, and Connor Berry, rookie driver in the 02, rounds out your top 20.
The back half of the field looks like this. Back in row 11, Robbie Lyons and Matt Stonek will line up side by side. Jordan Buster, rookie this season. Garrett Smithley starts on the outside in 24th. Ronnie Osmer, Leighton Sabile lining up 25th and 26th. George Belfans Jr. and George Martin, Ford Martin, I'm losing it already, in row 14. Justin Malillo, our in-race reporter. Chris Weaver lining up on the outside, rounding out the top 30.
31st is Josh Slate. 32nd, Max Kinnon. Michael Massey will roll off 33rd. Then you have Seth Eggert, Preston Pardis, Stephen Ellis, Brandon Brown, Michael Fisher, Brett Baldeck, Case Collenbach, and Steve Affont, 34th through 41st, respectively. Drivers who all did not complete a lap in qualifying. Now, of course, in iRacing, if you run off track, if you get an incident point in qualifying, it does not count your lap time. So whether that's the case or they just felt like they wanted to start back there because they feel as though they may end back there, we'll have to see. That rounds out your 41 cars set to do battle for you tonight. And if you look at the left-hand side of your screen, you look at the matchups courtesy of Grid Rival, all these head-to-head matchups that could take place throughout this race. You can see Ryan Vargas, Presley Sora, a couple of drivers who are pretty close on the Q chart and pretty close on your matchups. And looks like the favorite tonight, Colin Fern, will be starting in 19th, and Adam Cabot will be rolling off from the 4th position. But it looks like they're ready. Lights are on, green flag is out, and we are ready for the Tough Coat Flooring 120 from Canadian Tire Motorsports Park.
Trouble. Ryan Vargas is around. Josh Bilicki hard into the wall. Just coming out of turn number 1 on the run to turn number 2. Everybody scatters to avoid Vargas. Slides back onto the road with the rear end of the car. Now backing into traffic. He collects Michael Massey as everybody makes their way through turns 2 and now turn 3. And Massey and Vargas make more contact. They still haven't rolled. Now more trouble. Another car around. Presley Sora has spun. It's Corey Heim.
Brett Baldeck's around as well. You can see Corey Heim has spun also. The ruling for this race was there would be a halfway caution.
Well from P2. Just spun behind your race leader, Sage Karam, and LeBay already in trouble.
Bilicki is still spun around in turn 1 as an absolutely wild lap 1 here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. We'll see, at least for now, Sage Karam, David Schildhouse, and Raja Karuth, your top 3. Corey Heim has retired, and Corey Heim is out of this race. So a tumultuous lap 1 for a number of competitors, and it looks like up front, Karam will lead lap number 1.
Oh, the I think with trouble. TJ Cummings just went sideways coming off the final corner, and the 36 slammed into him. And Blake, we've seen so many challenges presented in the opening lap, and everybody still trying to keep their feet pointed in the right direction, and it is only getting tougher here. It's been an unbelievable first lap, and we're only continuing to.
We definitely anticipated, Jacob, that this would be a tough race for these drivers, that it would be
Bilicki, look out! Oh my gosh. I was just going to say that he finally got it rolling. He had a meatball flag. He had broken the suspension on that car on impact when he clobbered the inside wall. I think Bilicki was looking for a caution there. I don't think he knows that we're not really throwing cautions tonight here at the road course. He towed it back to pit, was junked half the top 10, if not more, by sliding back into traffic there. That got very, very close.
Oh, man, so a lot happening. Bilicki upset, as you can well imagine. The initial wreck that he was involved in, of course, nothing of his own doing, but he does have required repairs. You could say the same for Ryan Vargas with required repairs, Michael Massey, just a couple of others. So a lot going on here in the opening lap. We've spread them out a little bit since then, though, Kenneth, so I think we're going to be okay for now. We knew coming in that this was going to be a race that was pretty treacherous, that this combination of this car and this track, you were going to have to be precise to get the job done. And I think we saw there in lap number 1, it was awfully difficult with all the traffic going on to be able to do that.
It's tough around traffic, but one thing about racing this car at this track, it's also tough on its own, on your own right, just racing by yourself. And that's the thing that's going to be pivotal with this race, is that while we have these long runs in between the break at halfway, we're going to see mistakes be pivotal on track position. While yes, you're probably going to be faster than another driver, you'll see some passes and some great battles here and there, but the mistakes are really going to matter here at these road courses, where one slip off into the grass, one.
Colin Fern's off course in turn 6 in the hairpin. Coming through the corner, he just got the left side tires a bit too wide over the curb and just missed the corner entirely. He loses half a dozen spots and gets it back rolling. He's now back in the 26th position. I know he was favored to win coming into tonight, but it has been a not good start for Colin Fern as guys have been towing to pit road. Ryan Vargas just fixed his race car. So did Josh Balicki with the faster pair. They are now rolling off a pit lane. And the chaos just continues to unfold here from CTMP. A lot of early wrecks.
A lot of early crashes, and I knew that we were going to see some drivers struggle, especially through turn 2. That was an area of the racetrack where you have to carry a ton of speed. You don't have a lot of margin for error, and especially here in these next-gen cars, Kenneth, they can corner so well, but that makes them treacherous as we see a number of cars. Jordan Buster's going to make his way on the pit road. DJ Cummings, he's spun around a couple of times here in these opening handful of laps. He also makes the trip to pit lane, so a lot of chaos going on here is just the best way to describe these opening few laps.
Yeah, for sure. There's a lot of chaos. And remember the history as well. We haven't ran an M&R road course race with the next-gen car since race 8 of season 3 of Road America. It has been a very, very long time since these cars have been coupled with a track that goes both left and right. We've seen the ovals be at play, the super speedways, most notably from last season. We're going to see a super speedway with the next gens a little later on in the regular season, but it's been such a while since the road courses have been used with the next gen cars, so there is still a lot of a learning curve that these drivers really have to get used to, and that's why you're seeing so much chaos on the opening lap or so. It's because everybody's trying to make sure they're okay in race conditions. It's been a long time, so just try to get your rhythm back, try to get some muscle memory in it, and make sure you can keep this car planted at a track that has already tested many in the field.
Seth Thagert went off right in front of your race leader, and he goes a lap down from Sage Karam, and we'll kind of gather it back up just in front of Raja Carruth, David Schildhouse, a couple of others. Carruth almost into the back of Eggert as they nearly make contact heading up here into turns 5 and 6, and boy was that close as Carruth was carrying a ton of speed, and that was kind of a blind area where I just don't think Carruth saw Eggert, and he was going much slower than the oncoming pack.
He had no idea that 57 was there coming up over the hill. But he found out in a hurry and did all but ram into the back of him. So Carruth holds on to second. Sage Karam already 4.5 seconds up the road as your race leader right now. It's really a battle for third on back. Will Rogers holding that spot down in the 55. Then Schildhouse, Chase Cabry, Adam Cabot, Nick Olson right in a big pile. Ryan Vargas at the tail end of this. He is a lap down. After that opening lap crash, he's been given a cause. An incident point for that caution, or for that crash, and add that to the pile that he has added up through this whole season. Remember, you get 8 and you're done for the whole season. So you got to be careful with some of these guys. Don't know the totals as we stand right now, but they're going to be adding up here as we're just about halfway through the regular season. Well, we're more than halfway through the regular season, halfway through the season itself at this point.
And, you know, this kind of reminds me, at least of the way things run right now, of what Corey Heim did. As soon as he got in the league, he came in, dominated, won his first ever race. That same opportunity, at least for the time being, is available right now for Sage Karam. First ever start here in Monday Night Racing, and looks to be well on his way. At least for now, he's in the clear and even pulling away just a little bit each lap from Raj Carruth and Will Rogers. So Karam set himself up nicely. Of course, as mentioned earlier, we'll have a caution splitting this race in half if we don't get any more natural cautions. The rule, at least for road courses here at Monday Night Racing, that 5 or more cars involved in blocking the track will result in a caution flag. Otherwise, we will look forward to that midway break that will serve as a caution flag for everyone else in the field. As we look on board here with Chase Cabry, one goes off right in front of him. That was Case Collenbach, who has already gone a lap down, and Vargas almost gets into Collenbach as he's broke.
He's broke. Yeah. Suspension's broke. He got into the tires. He was trying to let Raja Carruth go by, and he got a little too wide, dipped the tires into the grass, and you know, there's not a lot of runoff room here at this racetrack. So when you dip the tires off here, you're going off course and you're not having a fun time. And for Case Collenbach now, he's got to limp that thing all the way back around the racetrack without junking anybody else or junking his car even more, as these lead lap cars are trying to get by him at full speed. That's Connor Berry right there, Gary Sexton, and another Ronnie Osmer getting through there. Collenbach's got a long way to go before he can get back around.
that he does, and he's trying his best to get out of the way and let these drivers go by without any incident. Some big movers, though, already early on in this race. Preston Pardus started in 35th. He is up to the 18th position, so has made up nearly 17 spots and perhaps even a little bit more as he passed Matt Stolnick on this lap, so he'll cycle up through to 17th position. So Preston Pardus, an incredible job early on here, Kenneth, of making the best of some of what we've seen. We know Pardus was fast, and I'm guessing that he just was not able to make a lap. Perhaps he went off course twice and wasn't able to put down an official qualifying time, but Pardus, I think we know his road racing acumen. He's somebody that we were going to have to keep our eye on, and he's doing a solid job right now racing his way through the field.
Yeah, for sure. Pardus is very skillful in the road courses, and the last time we ran a road course, the only time before this race in season number 6 that we ran at the road courses was at Daytona road course a couple of weeks back. He finished inside the top 3. Of course, was right there at the end with Chase Cabry and Corey Heim at the start-finish line in that trial vote, racing towards the win. So Pardus with already some fantastic progress from deep in the field to make it to midway, and obviously with the caution that's going to come out halfway, it's really going to help Pardus' case. It's going to bring the whole field back together. He's going to have a chance to reset, and with everything that he's gained, he's not going to lose anymore unless he makes a mistake or has some poor strategy car or something happen to him. So Pardus doing a great job. But one thing great I'm also watching here, at least Blake, is the battle between 4th, 5th, and 6th right now. David Schildhouse, Chase Cabry, and Adam Cabot. All 3 of these guys have been going toe-to-toe, lap after lap after lap. Cabry has tried many times to get around Schildhouse. This might be the opportunity as Schildhouse goes wide off of the final corner, and Cabot will look to the inside for P5, but they'll continue to do this, Blake, over and over again. They've been so close to each other and so competitive.
And David Schildhouse went a little wide there off of White's corner in turn 10, and he'll lose a couple of spots out of that. He falls back to 6th as Adam Cabot goes on by, so Chase Cabry up into the 4th spot. Will Rogers is doing a solid job right now in 3rd of trying to catch Rajah Caruth, as Brett Baldeck is another little bit of lap traffic that these drivers are going to have to go through into Moss Corner. You can see another driver that was off there in the grass. Trying to see exactly who that was. We passed him pretty quickly, as I believe they've already taken the tow. No, that was Case Collenbach, who's gone off once again. It's been a tough start for Collenbach. This was my pick.
Trouble. Sabile has crashed. That's in turn 2. He's wedged into the tires as you see Osmer go around. That's in turn 6. Sabile and Garrett Smithley both kind of went off in turn 2. Sabile hit the tires. Smithley just spun it. We get a live look here. There's Sabile finally got, or no, that's Cabot that's off. That was inside the top 5.
What in the world is going on here as we had kind of calmed things down for a number of laps, but yet again, here we are as everybody kind of running off course. And one of the things that I think that happens, Kenneth, is because these cars are so close and because you're running on the edge, when somebody in front of you barely has an issue or you get a little loose or you just barely overshoot, you can see what happened to Cabot right there. He's lucky he found some asphalt there to try to get his car pointed in the right direction again. But it's one of those things that when you see somebody make a mistake in front of you, you react to that, and then in turn you make your own mistake.
Yeah, how many times have we seen in road course racing where drivers looked and learned to the drivers that are running right in front of them? They kind of mimic what they do on the track. So if a mistake happens, it may just double or triple just depending on the pack that they're in. And you're right there. Found some asphalt, Cabot did. That's probably the best part of the track to get off track, because as soon as he grabbed that asphalt, had some extra grip, was able to slide through the grass without having any extra problems. And although he does lose track position, he falls all the way back to 8th. He's able to continue on without any damage on his number 17 machine. So thank goodness for that. He was saved at that point. You look on board with the Hy-Vee machine. This is Michael Fisher in the 96, who I think had some highlights at Indianapolis 1 week ago, guys. But let's see this on the 96 running inside the top 20 and looking on Joshua Slay. May see a nice battle for 19th through up.
Well, again, somebody else that started at the tail end of the field has worked his way up from 38th up inside the top 20. So Fisher, at least in these opening laps, doing a solid job of trying to make up a lot of ground very quickly and put himself in a better position when we get to that midway race break where we will get that caution flag. You can see once again Raja Caruth. He has lost touch with Sage Karam, who continues to drive away a couple of tenths per lap, but he will have his hands full with that driver who's right behind him for now. You can see Will Rogers has made up a lot of ground on Raja Caruth.
And we'll see how this goes with Will Rogers. He's been closing him in over these last couple laps as the battle behind with Cabri, Schulthouse, and what was Cabot. As that happened, that allowed Rogers to scoot away a little bit. So these two have broken away, and they're kind of on their own island right now. They're way too far behind Sage Karam, more than 7 seconds. But they are up the road now by almost 2 seconds over Cabri and David Schulthouse. So they are pretty much by themselves as Rajat leaned it out there coming out of the final corner. And those tires starting to show just a little bit of wear coming up through as they'll go back around here, and we'll see how turn 2 goes for him. Lap car ahead, that is the 2 of Robbie Lyons. He got involved in a crash on lap 2 or lap 3 early on in this race, and he's been digging himself out of a hole since. By the way, Leighton Sabile has parked the car. He is done for the night after wedging it into the tires in turn 2.
You can see Steve Affont there had a little bit of a lockup as they are working their way out of Quebec corner. Caruth will go on by Robbie Lyons, who lets these two fight it out amongst themselves. And Caruth, a little bit of experience coming into this racetrack, ran in the eNASCAR International Series at this track. It was not in this next-gen car, so drove a little bit different. But I think, Kenneth, you talk about just experience and getting laps in. Any laps you can get around this road course, you can learn a little bit better. I think he'll take, and the experience definitely paid off for Raja Caruth as he is still up here in the second position. But nice run here for Will Rogers to try to make that pass work.
And the recency also helps. It was a couple of weeks ago, so Caruth has some memory, and as he's coming back into this track tonight for this M&R race, he's thinking, all right, well, I learned some things in the eNASCAR International iRacing Series race. I've got this track pretty much nailed down in my head, memory-wise, and knowing how to attack each and every one of these corners. So Caruth, with a lot of the experience at that race, and performed well, obviously fell back with some of the issues that he got involved in the latter half of that event, but he showed a lot of promise, a lot of speed, and is doing so right now, although Rogers is really hunting him down, and I'm seeing a lot of mid-corner speed out of Rogers. Caruth better somewhat on the exits, Rogers though better on entrance, and even some parts of the apex. It looks like he might try to get advantage here, coming down the hill and maybe going back up to Moss Corner. But Rogers really putting the pressure, and Caruth just trying to do all that he can to keep this car stable. It's been tough for him to do so. He's been kicking out that rear end many times over and over again. And Rogers might have the opportunity here if he can grab some draft on the Mario Andretti straightaway.
This is probably the best chance you can to try and make up some ground here. As you can see, Ryan Vargas, who had gone a lap down a little bit earlier, has run off again, and that might do it for Ryan Vargas. You could see he had some suspension damage right there. He'll have to come in for required repairs again. But Jacob, I don't think he has that fast repair in the back pocket. So Ryan Vargas's day here may be, if not done, he's going to be several laps down by the time he get back out on the racetrack.
Yeah, it's been the rotten, horrible, no good day for Ryan Vargas out there. Lap 1, turn 1 on exit, got loose, spun it around, got involved in a couple of other cars, then trying to get it rolling to turn number 2, went off, visited the tires, went to pit road after that, got it all fixed up, used his fast repair at that point, got it back, lap down, and now he's found his way to the tires once again, and he's going to have a heck of a time limping that thing back around. Jordan Buster had some issues coming out of the final corner, but again, our eyes go right back to second here between Raja Caruth and Will Rogers. We talked about it earlier, 2 guys on the outside looking into the top 12, and they're going to be fighting hard for this position as we're getting closer and closer now to the final 10 minutes or so, rather final 15 minutes before we get that caution.
And just, of course, one thing we want to note is that 5 minutes before that caution will be thrown, pit road will be closed. So you can't short pit or do any of those things. We imagine that at least at some point over the course of this run that these drivers will pit, perhaps for tires, for fuel, but they will not be allowed to do so within 5 minutes of that caution being thrown. As we'll see once again working around the racetrack lap number 14.
Trouble front straightaway. Max Kennan is around. Here comes the leaders. Oh, man. They get by. That's Carruth and Will Rogers. Kennan just coming out of the final corner, got loose on exit on the gas and slammed into that inside wall. As now he just crashed it again. I think he just pretty much ended his night. He drove it straight to the end of the tire barriers in turn number 1 and had one of the worst crashes I've seen. That's Case Kallenbach. That's off track again in the background. There in turn number 2, and turn 2 is the trouble spot here tonight. Kennan has parked the car. Carruth washes up. Here comes Will Rogers. He takes second in turn 3.
Yeah, Carruth had a little bit of a mistake right there in the Quebec corner, and Will Rogers, who's just looked a little bit smoother these last couple of laps, was able to take full advantage. He had a run, but wasn't quite able to make it work with those cars spinning around on the front straightaway, and now Carruth may have his hands full in the next couple of laps with Chase Cabry, who was able to make up some ground through some of the lap traffic by catching these two who were battling for second. So Chase Cabry has separated himself from David Schildhaus further back down the road about 3 seconds, and now Cabry looking to be a fixture up here at the front and try to chase down Raja Carruth. As you can see James Bickford, Eric Eastep's pick a little bit earlier on in the night. He's finally cracked the top 10.
And Bickford here doing a nice job. It looks like he's going to work on Joey Padgett in the 83. That's that yellow and gray Ford Mustang right in front of him. So we may see a nice battle building here for P9. But you talk about those guys with Cabry starting to catch in on Carruth and Rogers. It's sort of the similar deal that happened with Rogers and Carruth with guys like Cabry, Schildhaus, and what was Adam Cabot at the time when those three were...
Oh, Cabry just went off in turn 2, and he does have suspension damage. So just as we were talking about, Chase Cabry running up inside the top 5, barely ran off the racetrack, locked up the left front, and there's just no stopping it after that. This grass is so slick once you run the car off, and here you can see the smoke right there locks it up, and there's just nothing that Cabry can do, knowing he's going to hit that wall. Tries to lessen the damage, but unfortunately broke the suspension. He's actually going to take a tow back to pit road.
I think that's the right call, just to tow it, just because, I mean, you're so far away from the front straightaway at that point. You risk damaging your car more and possibly wrecking other cars trying to bring it back around. Just stop it. I know it's a long tow, you're going to lose time, but in the end of it, just bring it to pit road and let them fix it and bring it back out there. Try it again. Heartbreak though for Chase Cabry.
Well, a little bit of heartbreak, but you know, this is one thing.
Oh, Raja Carruth's pitting.
So Raja Carruth running in third now after that battle that he had. He got the best of it with Chase Cabry. He's going to make his way onto pit road, and we'll see what the call will be for Raja Carruth. Looks like no tires. It's just going to be fuel only for Raja Carruth, and so he'll get his pit service done a little bit earlier on in this run, and that will bring the battle back here for Alex LeBay. Trying to make his way by. He actually lets Adam Cabot through, so Cabot up to 5th. It's a little bit of pit strategy happening here early on in this run.
Carruth really being the only one to come down pit road, and I saw that move by the 36. Smart one there by LeBay. Don't fight Cabot too hard, and then bring in Nick Olsen further into the mix. You don't want to do that and make things harder for yourself on the track. So LeBay concedes that spot. He's going to remain in the top 5. There's where Raja Carruth has come out of the entire mix. He has rejoined the racetrack in P14 out on the surface. So now it looks like we'll see whether everybody else in the top 3 or maybe top 5 or even top 10 or so will look to pit then again. Of course, there is a little bit less percentage of fuel than we are usually expected to see with these next-gen cars. Most of the time at the intermediates, we see roughly 75%. This time it's 60. So, of course, these fuel windows are going to be a lot shorter lap-wise than they would at a lot of the other tracks we visit in the M&R schedule with these cars. So we'll see if Carruth's under strategy will work. It looks like nobody else is really biting the bullet. You're watching this trio right now, 4th, 5th, and 6th, as Olsen tries to catch up to LeBay and Cabot.
Oh, another driver ran off in turn 2. That was Brandon Brown, who was running in 24th. He had just gotten lapped. We've lapped up to 23rd right now. George Belfans Jr. right now in 23rd position. You have Justin Melillo right now in 22nd. Of course, we chronicled a week ago at Indianapolis the great battle that he had with Presley Soar at the end of that race to try and get a race win. Was not quite so for Justin Melillo. And I wouldn't say he's a self-acclaimed road course ringer by any stretch, but is up 7 spots since we dropped the green flag. You can see Karam right there, just the amount of speed Karam's there able to carry. I think Malilla right here just going to let Sage go on beneath him into turn 1, and that's exactly what he does.
And that's the way Justin Malilla races. You know, he doesn't like to be in the way of guys, and I'll be honest, if this race keeps up the way it is, he's getting the top 15. As long as he keeps that thing on the racetrack at all times, he's getting the top 15 out of this. With the amount of guys that we've seen go off course tonight, he's going to have himself a pretty nice run. And we ride him over Sage Karam. He's just been robotic around the racetrack. He's just, I don't think he's made a mistake all night tonight. A couple more pitting, though. Here, Blake Presley-Sora, Reed Wilson, and Connor Berry, Preston Pardis. They're all going to make the trip onto pit road, kind of fall in the footsteps here of Rajah Caruth, and pit before the caution flag.
Well, I think everybody will. I don't know if they can make it on fuel past the caution. They may run out under yellow if they try to stretch it a little bit further. So at some point, we'll see everybody come down. It's just whether you take tires, whether you take fuel only. I think that's really the only separator. But at some point, just about all of our leaders and the ones who haven't had issues, they will certainly make their way onto pit road. And you'd think you'd want to be able to do that, Kenneth, in a way where you can make it to the absolute end on fuel, that you don't even have to worry about pitting to the end of the race, as we get the call from race control. 5 minutes until the pit is closed, 10 minutes until that caution flag at the halfway point.
And with the 60% fuel, that caution in the mix, it's just way different. It's hard to really compare to what happened at the Daytona road courses. It looks like Joey Padgett going to come in all by himself on pit road. Actually, may have a couple of takers in front of him on the lane to follow. Looks like Nick Olson, Alex LeBay, they are also in with the 83, so you can see that. Will Rogers, the 55, rather the 7 car on pit road this time through. So more takers, everybody taking fuel this time by. I think they got that warning by race control. Josh Mendoza said, all right, I think this is our cue to come down pit road and make sure we're fine on fuel. But it's just so different from that Daytona road course race because, you know, the cautions here in the midway, there was no caution at all in the Mazda MX-5 race at Daytona. You had to really play strategy by ear and see how it all worked. You can't really bank on that caution. Now it's so different. I think it's really going to change the calls and make things more adaptive on these guys' hands.
We'll see right here, Josh Bilicki didn't exactly have the go of it, at least early on lap 1. He got spun around about 3 or 4 times on that lap. He got spun, tried to get back going, got spun again. So it hasn't been a great day on the racetrack, but it's been a great day off the racetrack for Josh Bilicki today. Announced that he will be running multiple races next year in the 2023 NASCAR Cup Series for Live Fast. Ziegler Auto right there you can see as the sponsor. So Josh Bilicki added 1 to the numerals, went from a 77 to a 78, but great news there for Josh Bilicki as he will be running in the Cup Series part-time next year for Live Fast. And I imagine you'll probably see him, Kenneth, on a lot of racetracks like this that he specializes in real life. A great and accomplished road course driver in his own right.
Oh, for sure. He's shown a lot of great stuff on the road courses in sim. He's done the same in real life, so very exciting for Josh Bilicki in the 78. But we have had word, Blake, that the leaders have come in. Sage Karam went down on pit road, and the same goes for Adam Cabot, David Schildhouse, James Bickford among those. So basically the main batch of drivers at the front who had yet to come down for service have now come in for fuel.
Trouble, pit road. David Schildhouse has spun. They didn't give him fuel in his pit stop. He stopped in for a second. He has spun it around on pit exit. David Schildhouse with a disastrous pit stop, and I think with where he stopped, I think he's out of fuel. That's at least my guess here, is where he has stopped, as he has now just towed it back to his pit stall. That is huge for Schildhouse because he has to tow that thing all the way around the racetrack. They didn't fill it up with fuel, and he now has to tow. A disastrous pit stop for David Schildhouse.
I was wondering why he was sitting backwards at pit exit, and I was just wondering how in the world that happened, because you barely have space to spin the car around, but that is the case. Believe he came down pit lane, did not fill up on fuel, and I think this is when, if you're a David Schildhouse fan, you have to be pretty thrilled with the fact that he has a win already locked into the postseason. He said, I'm going to do everything I can to keep this car on the racetrack and just be there at the end. Well, he kept his car on the track, Kenneth, but you got to add fuel too. It's kind of important.
You gotta add fuel. That was so odd there, sitting there for so long. I think just letting some traffic by and just waiting to see what would happen. And I saw the revs there on the replay. And his just bounced.
Trouble off track, and I think this is turn number 3. Brandon Brown, George Belfans Jr. And Belfans just came in and hit Brandon Brown. Brown was already off course. I heard him hit the tires, and then George Belfans Jr. said, wait for me, and came flying on in there as well, made contact. Belfans keeps it going. Brandon Brown has to tow. He got it wedged in the tires. 1 minute to go until pit road is closed. Ronnie Osmer has parked the car, and here's a replay of what happened to these two.
So there you see the first incident. Brandon Brown runs off course, and then George Belfans in a completely separate incident.
Hold on, guys. Bickford had to tow. Bickford has issues. James Bickford crashed it in turn number 2. He just overcooked the corner, drove it into the tire barriers, and he got stuck, broke the suspension, and he has to tow. Disastrous for James Bickford, as he was somebody that had speed tonight. You'll see the replay here. Just drives it in way too hot into turn number 2, locks the tires up, and goes hard into the tires, breaking the suspension on the right front. And he now has a long wait in his pit stall. A long way to go. Matt Stolnick's now in trouble. He's reversing. He's in turn number 3. He has crashed.
Melillo's in it.
I'm sorry, turn 2, and Melillo got him. Yeah, coming back on the racetrack, just keeping the throttle down, and he collected Melillo. This is as wild as the start. Melillo has to tow, as does Stolnick. This is unbelievable.
And this is all right before pit lane closed, and indeed now it is closed, so you can't come down and pit unless you're entering a closed pit. So everybody who pits right now is Stolnick. You could see the replay of him going off in turn 2.
Colin Fern has crashed in turn 2 in the same spot. He's got a meatball flag, I think. Maybe. No, he's rolling. We'll see how that right front suspension is. He's back on the racetrack as you see the replay. Colin Fern does have a meatball flag, so his car is broken. Turn 2 strikes again. Another one bites the dust, and the guy that was favored to win in Colin Fern has damage, critical damage to the 86, and he has to pit.
Reed Wilson almost just spun in Canada corner right in front of Bailey Turner and Connor Berry. He has pit, so Reed Wilson is up into the top 10. You can see the replay of Colin Fern running off, and got to give a nod to the production team here. They are dealing with a lot right now as these drivers are running all over this racetrack and running off this racetrack, I guess you could say, if you've been tuning in the last couple of minutes. You can see Raja Carruth. He has caught Sage Karam for the race lead. So Karam obviously ran into an issue or got slowed behind a lap car. So Raja Carruth now here with just a couple of minutes until that break is in contention to try to take over the top spot.
And the chaos only continuing to build right before we get to that halfway caution. Unbelievable. And I know our producer has had a hard time there trying to get everything together, because as soon as a crash happens and we're trying to cover it, another crash happens right after. So, I mean, props on Bauer for all the hard work he's been able to do. But indeed, you're right. Carruth is catching Sage Karam. I think the first time we're seeing Karam at threat all race long. And Chase Cabry, that lap car in the middle, we saw how strong Cabry was on lead lap conditions. Now, how does it change his strategy as a lap car? What can he do in the midst of this battle to either maybe help Carruth in the case, or hurt Karam, or help Karam as they go back to turn 1? You're riding on board with a 39, of course. He's already locked into the playoffs, so his hardships tonight are obviously going to be forgotten by the time we get to the playoffs later on this season. But Cabry in the middle of it all, another lap car in front of this 43. So Karam under fire for the first time all race long, and this move,
big spin,
I bring Carruth closer.
Michael Massey off of Canada corner has spun, and it looked like that was a misfire, as he may have accidentally pushed the car the wrong direction in terms of shifting, because he was...
Cabry just blocked right down in front of Carruth. Remember, that 39 is a lap down, and he's passing Garrett Smithley. That battle right now on the racetrack is for the lucky dog, and that is right in the thick of the race leaders here, and Raja Carruth is stuck behind these two guys. That's going to allow Sage Karam to scoot away here, Blake, and I mean, Cabry chopped the nose off Raja Carruth. He did not want that 24 to get by him.
So not only that, so you have Sage Karam who's in the lead. You have Cabry and Smithley who are battling for the lucky dog. If they can find a way around Karam, then Smithley would become the lucky dog as a result. So Smithley nearly loses it off of turn 10. And Cabry now will try to chase down Sage Karam to try and get back onto the lead lap.
It's been an unbelievable set of circumstances. Remember the time that I talked about at the top of the show?
Oh,
Cabry around and almost tags Caruth in it.
He goes around, he gets a right front tire off of the racing surface just like he did earlier. This time he saves it from going into the barrels, but he does not save the race car. So Cabry will now fall back. Smithley is now the lucky dog. But now he has his hands full of Colin Fern. Colin Fern has caught Garrett Smithley for the lucky dog.
But now remember here, guys, Colin Fern pitted after the pits were closed. I think the punishment there is he has to restart at the tail end of the field. I'm not sure if he is in the free pass position, if he's able to get the free pass here. So it'll be interesting to see how he gets by, if he gets by Garrett Smithley, how Josh Mendoza will play this out, because he is on 4-lap fresher tires than Smithley, if tires mean anything right now. And not even that, because Fern only used his fast repairs. You see Stallneck's off there coming out of the hairpin.
Stallneck was off. Smithley locked up just in front of Colin Fern. I mentioned earlier Michael Massey may have had a little bit of a misfire. He spun and he got back to pit road. And, of course, we advise you to stay here on Podium Esports after the race as Michael Massey and we'll be covering the Frontstretch Post-Race Show. We've had our live interviews and we've been throwing it to them for even more coverage in the Monday Night Racing Pro Series presented by Interstate Batteries. So advise you to stay attuned for that, for the Frontstretch Post-Race Show, as caution is out. And Sage Karam holds on to the lead, and it looks like Garrett Smithley is the lucky dog, but he just spun under caution. Smithley backs it into the barrier off of turn 4. Will that disallow him getting the lucky dog?
It might, unless Josh Mendoza manually gives it to him, and it's plain simple. He just got wide in turn 3 and got it into the grass and looped it around. Unbelievable. Is it a full moon? David Schildhouse has stopped. Hold on. What happened to Schildhouse? Schildhouse has stopped. This is on the Mario Andretti straightaway. I think he ran it out of fuel. He either ran out of fuel or money shifted. And I'm not sure which it is.
Yeah, he was sputtering. He ran it out of gas.
How did he?
Corner 2, he ran it out. You can see the revs just immediately drop and die as he goes up the hill to Moss Corner and then just parks the car on the straightaway. Couldn't do anything else.
Wow. Are we sure he has a fuel man? Because that's twice tonight.
Well, I know as the general manager of Alpha Prime, he may need to look into some new pit crew members. That's all I can say.
Stallneck has crashed. We're under caution for a full minute, and Stallneck has crashed again in the hairpin. And now George Belfans Jr. crashes in the same spot. Guys, we're under caution. Robbie Lyons just watched him go off. This is unreal.
Now again, and I know it's under caution, but most of the field is still trying to catch up to the pace car, and they may have to go full speed for about an extra lap more than the rest of the field to try and catch up to the pace car. So a lot of people, although it's under caution, they have not slowed the pace down all that much, and apparently they've even tried to push a little bit harder in some cases. So just a wild set of circumstances here, as I believe the pits will open this time here in the Tough Go Flooring 120 at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. Tough Go Flooring is an industrial flooring company specializing in custom floors and drains. Tough Go doesn't believe in the one-size-fits-all approach, and neither should you. Tough Go listens to your needs and requirements and develops custom solutions for every client. For more information, you can visit their website at toughgoflooring.com. Again, toughgoflooring.com. As they present us here the running of the Tough Go Flooring 120. It's perhaps has been the greatest opening 40 minutes, or at least the most eventful opening 40 minutes that we've seen in a Monday Night Racing event this year. Sage Karam, your leader, Raja Caruth, Adam Cabot, Will Rogers, and Alex LeBay round out your top 5. That is how at least your top 5 will head on to pit road. We'll find out more about who the lucky dog is and isn't, who's getting creating a wave around. Who won't? All of that, we will find out more. And this time around, it looks like Carruth will be the lone taker onto pit road. So Carruth will give up the second position, will head onto pit road, and the 15 failed to maintain caution speed and will not be allowed to take the lucky dog. It was given to Colin Fern.
Wow. So it only continues, guys. At some point, maybe we'll have some moment of relaxation, but for the moment, every time that we've had something happen chaotic, it's always another thing that piles onto the other one, and then more developments happen. And for the 15 there, it looks like Fern got his wish, so he's going to be able to get back on the lead lap as soon as we come back to green. I also noted that Carruth, not the only one on a pit road this time. It looks like Alex Lebain, the 36, also there to follow. I wonder if that's going to really change anything in the next 40-odd minutes once we get back to the green flag.
We'll see. I know the number of drivers were talking about how tires weren't really that important, so you'd imagine that track position would be the one thing that you are looking to secure. As we run around under the caution flag, only 15 cars, including Colin Fern, being scored on the lead lap right now. So in the opening 40 minutes or so, we have put over half the field at least one lap behind your race leader in Sage Karam. And why don't we catch up now as we're running around under our first caution flag of the evening to catch up with our Toughco in-race reporter in Justin Melillo. Justin, I don't know how to quite say what it's been. From our vantage point, it's been crazy. How has it been from your vantage point?
It's definitely been a bit of a journey tonight here in CTMP. It's a lot of people. They're not realizing that you got to race the track and not the other people, and they're putting themselves into mistakes, and they're in fact also putting other people in mistakes. So I thought I ran that first half of the race, or first 35 minutes of the race, perfectly until about, 3 minutes to go in the quarter, and I don't know what Matt was thinking. He came back into the track like nobody else was on it, and completely wiped me out, which completely ruined my strategy. So sucks, but I mean, it's absolute chaos, and I think if we can stick it out and try to stick it to the end and not get crashed for the rest of it, we might be able to get a better finish. So
yeah, I was about to say, with everything that happened on the opening lap and even the last couple of minutes before that break, I know David Schildhouse was saying earlier, it's all about just keeping the car on the racetrack. Is that kind of the approach you have here for the rest of the night?
Absolutely, Blake. It's definitely, once you get any tire, whether it's, just the left side or just the right front or whatever it is, if you get any tire in the grass, it's ice, and you're going to go sliding, and you're going to eat tires, the tire barrier on the outside of the walls, and it's going to give you meatball, and your night's going to be done if you don't have a fast repair anymore. So it's definitely a matter of keeping it in between the lines and also avoiding all the other chaos that's going on. I can't wait for this restart. It's going to be mayhem.
All right, Justin. Well, thank you very much for joining us here as our in-race reporter, and best of luck to you throughout the rest of the night.
Thank you, Blake.
Justin Melillo right now 2 laps down, scored in the 24th position. Our Toughco in-race reporter, who was so close to visiting Victory Lane at Indianapolis Motor Speedway last week. And we'll look forward to the 87 cars next week at Auto Club, which I'm sure Justin might be happy about. And I'm just going to say here, I have been knocking on the door of Ford Martin to try and see if I can't maybe take my hand at running that race. You guys know how much I love the 87 cars. I want to run that race, and I'll let it be known, and maybe see if I can't run a one-off next week. Who knows?
As long as I can pick you for fantasy, I'm game.
Oh, man. I don't know if you should be that confident in me. I'd like to remind you here that Interstate Batteries is built to top industry standards. Interstate Batteries has been the technician's choice for 9 years and counting. Powered by a distributor network of 300 wholesale warehouses and backed up by more than 150,000 dealers around the world, as well as 200 all Battery Center franchise stores, Interstate seeks to deliver the most trustworthy source of power to the world every single day. Interstate Batteries, outrageously dependable and proud partner on the Monday Night Racing Pro Series presented by Interstate Batteries. When we get back going to the green, you can see right there on the top left-hand part of your screen, 36 minutes left, and Karam gets loose off the jump, will lose the race lead. There goes Adam Cabot as Sage Karam, who has not made a mistake all night long, makes his first one and loses the race lead.
And that was trying to smash the gas at the top of first gear. The rear tires just spun a little bit too much, and Karam had to make a huge save on the car.
Carruth keeps it on the racetrack. He got awfully loose getting into Quebec corner.
Looks like he's able to save it. That's Reed Wilson looking underneath, but like we saw on lap number 1, opening lap, turn 1, leader.
Oh, there goes Nick Olson.
Nick Olson is around into the tire barriers and back up the hill through Moss Corner. Not sure if there's official suspension damage on the 24. There might be on the right front, and he will park it in the grass and know where he can go.
And you can see the tracks that were left by Nick Olson there as he went into the tire barrier. Probably the first time that we've seen somebody off of Moss Corner hit, or at least into Moss Corner, hit that end of the racetrack, as your top 3 have separated themselves just a little bit from the rest of the field. Cabot, Karam, and Will Rogers. Then you have, well, it was Nick Olson now. It is Joey Padgett who finds himself in the 4th spot.
Another rookie sneaking his way up into this deal. I know the rookies have been the talk of the town all year long so far. And, you know, Sage Karam making his first start. He's in 2nd. Padgett's up there in 4th. Alex LeBay, it's been a while for him. He's back up into the thick of things now. He's up in 7th. So.
Oh, trouble.
Oh, there goes.
Gets turned by Connor Berry. Yeah, we were on board with it right there. Getting into turn 2. Berry
off
and
the wall.
make contact.
They're going to keep it green here, literally, just through the grass. Both of them kept it off the wall. They did a great job keeping it off from damage. There's trouble up the road, I think. Yeah, Joey Padgett got sideways.
Well, Sora
Joey Padgett lost spots.
Sora hit the wall. He just didn't hit the tire barrier, so Sora with a little bit of damage.
Padgett got turned by Bailey Turner in Quebec corner, and that got him all sorts of sideways. That drops him back to 9th. He was able to pop it back up into gear. Now Connor Berry has more issues. He has crashed again coming into Moss corner. Here's the replay of what happened here with Bailey Turner and Joey Padgett. This is coming into turn 3, and just bump, bump, dump.
Another lap of chaos here as Preston Pardis goes by Reed Wilson and gets a spot there. Well, now Reed Wilson's going to try to dive back down to the bottom of turn 1. So these two duking it out.
We've seen so many drivers off of this restart after the midway caution get so loose coming out of these corners. First, it started with Karam, then it happened with Rogers and even with Carruth. It happened with other drivers, especially Sora there. That's the reason he got tagged by Connor Berry, was because he was next to him going into turn 2. And we're seeing it more, just drivers getting sideways lap after lap and corner after corner. It looks like these tires are not really keeping up well with the cars on the racetrack. It looks like Pardis is able to stop the bleeding for now against Reed Wilson as you look on board with Sage Karam, who has since fallen back to 2nd. Looking behind, Will Rogers trying to keep the pressure up.
Trying to keep the pressure up, but also trying to keep
trouble. Michael Fisher. This is turn 2. Sort of behind where everybody was at. He was still on the lead lap, and well, like Melillo talked about, you dip the tires off and you're going off course. That's exactly what he did there, coming over the hill. And he goes down, hits the tires, and breaks the suspension on the right front of that 96. He was having a good run going. He's had a good season going so far, and just gets a little too high, wide, and handsome there, and he pays the price.
You see it off of turn 2, and that has just been the trouble spot. We knew it was going to be coming in, and I think the drivers were well aware of it themselves. But nevertheless, we've seen a lot happening as there is a battle for 4th that is pretty hotly contested right now. Raja Carruth, who fell back on that initial jump, was able to make his way by Bailey Turner. So Carruth goes up to 4th. And just a little bit further up the road that we were watching just a second ago, you have Sage Karam, Will Rogers, who are still about bumper to bumper here trying to chase down Adam Cabot.
And I saw there, we've talked about the 43 of Karam being remarkably perfect all race long as LeBay looks to the inside of the 5, Bailey Turner for P5 coming out of Moss Corner. Textbook pass by the Canadian driver. LeBay moves up into 5th. Troll will try to catch Caruth this time by. But Karam there, you saw exactly what happened into turn 2. Just got loose, washed up the track, almost got into the grass, and just opened that door for Rogers. And it looks like, at least from what I'm seeing, clean air seems to be mega important if you're at the front of the field. Karam took the lead away from LeBay, turn 1, lap 1, never looked back. Now Cabot takes the lead away off of a mistake by Karam on the opening lap of the restart, and he's pulled away to 2.3 seconds.
Cabot has been utilizing that clean air for a good purpose, and that's to try and pull away from Sage Karam here with just a bit over, just 1 minute exactly, above 30 minutes left in this race. So Cabot, your leader, Karam in second. Will Rogers runs in the 3rd position. Raja Caruth and Alex LeBay, some early contenders. And by the way,
trouble again. Bickford, turn 2 into the tires. That's his second go at it, and again, this right front suspension, not sure it held up. He got it with the right side of the car. You can see he's frustrated.
Yeah.
Meatball flag. He tows it to pit road. Bickford, who was at this point not on the lead lap, just trying to bring it home with a good finish. He cannot seal the deal. He has to tow it. His night likely done. He's already used that fast repair.
Saw the 41 of Stallneck. He went off in turn 5, and he's doing his best to try and stay out of the way and let these drivers by, as he currently runs 8 laps down. So a tough evening there for James Bickford. As you can see, the reaction there, very visibly upset with himself there. And I think that's the running story for a lot of these drivers, Kenneth, that coming into this race, there are a lot of drivers who showcased a lot of pace here tonight. They've just run into problems, whether they have a fast repair left or have used both of them up to this point. I think you look at the running order here and you kind of see a little bit of who has survived up to this point right now. I take a look at somebody like Ford Martin, who definitely wasn't setting the world on fire in terms of pace, but he finds himself in 11th simply because he just hasn't made any mistakes.
And then, again, it turns back to the...
Oh, Bailey Turner's off in turn 2. He's in the tires. George Belfans Jr. was off a couple of seconds ago. He is broken. Bailey Turner was running 6th at the time. He goes off. He takes a dive for the tires in turn 2. No meatball flag yet for him as he is back up to speed in turn number 3. And once again, dipping the tires. It's a deadly mistake. This time it cost the 5 of Bailey Turner.
You know, the one thing I've noticed with this next-gen car and with this independent rear suspension is that any braking zone that is a little bumpy is really difficult for these cars. And that's already a tough corner as is, getting into turn 2, getting into Clayton Corner. And how difficult it is. You're trying to carry a lot of speed. If you give up a little bit of time, you're giving up a lot. And it's such a difficult corner to get into. But these next-gen cars in particular, Kenneth, I don't think they handle very well just anything where there's a little bit of bumps into the braking zone and you're going downhill. You can see right now, even Adam Cabot, as he gets in there, you can see the suspension, you can see the car rocking, you can see Gary Sexton has gone off as well.
That's in the S's.
Back up. Yeah, that's near the end of the racetrack. The last sector here just went wide. And remember, that same part of the asphalt that Adam Cabot grabbed, the 23 was just a little bit too late to grab that asphalt and some extra grip. By the time he slid into the grass, here's a look at it. This is a right-hander coming into the last 2 corners of the racetrack at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. That's going through the S's and bam, right into the tire barriers. The 23 goes and now limping it just back onto the racing surface, 1 lap down, and has since gone into pit road P19. We are right, Blake. Just the way this car is built, it does not handle any undulation well, and that was a challenge bringing these cars to the Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, because this track has a lot of elevation change, has a lot of bumps, and with these large curves as well, you hit it, that car starts to bounce around, and you immediately lose all.
Garrett Smithley, he's just crashed it here. This is the hairpin. Just got loose more than anything. Didn't catch the grass. Just lost it. Lost a couple spots there, but he gets it back rolling. And
Josh Slate also went off. He spun. And
yeah, he's been having issues.
My goodness, he actually did an incredible job to not hit Jordan Buster there. He picked the left rear tire up off the racing surface and kept it out of the way of Jordan Buster.
He's got a meatball flag, and I tell you what, he blew by Justin Melillo coming out of the final corner a lap ago, and then when he came down the front straightaway, he put the throttle all the way down to the floor and about wrecked it. He hit the inside wall, and I think that may have broken something on that race car because he has been all over this racetrack since that time.
And tough there for Josh Slate, who, by the way, is racing for the last time in his college dorm room. Josh Slate, a college student, obviously got done with the fall semester, and this is the last time that he'll be, I'm sure, what's probably racing at a really small desk with a bunk bed in the background.
Yeah, we pointed that out, and obviously a big congratulations to Josh Slate, his accomplishments in college, and now being able to not be in the dorm anymore when he's racing for M&R. So awesome for the 01, who's obviously, like everybody else, just trying to maintain that race car to the end of the race. And I did notice, and Jacob, you're also talking about in the chat here, that Karen was actually closing in on your race leader. Cabot had shrinked the lead to 1.8 seconds, and it looked like either a mistake or something happened out of the 43. Has bounced the lead gap back to 2.2, now 2.3 seconds, and growing. So it was a little mistake there by the 43.
Oh, Cabot gets loose into Quebec corner, and he lost more ground that time. So Adam Cabot dips the left rear off. He somehow managed to save it, but lost some more ground, and he has Gary Sexton and Joshua Slate directly in front of him, which, by the way, speaking of
trouble,
Josh
Colin Fern is off. Colin Fern's off again. This is turn 3, and he has broken it this time. He broke the suspension. That's the second time for the 86. He has parked the car. He's done for the night.
You know, I'm never going to try to make a point the rest of the night, because as soon as I do, something happens.
I don't think anyone's safe at all. I think every time we try to get some analysis in, there's something that happens on the track, somebody slides off. And again, it just turns back to the point of mistakes. These mistakes are killing the drivers on track right now at a place that's really challenging. So, I mean, we'll just see what happens. And as Cabot gets around the lap car, Josh Slate, we'll see if any more mistakes arise out of anybody in the top 20 or so.
When it comes to incident points, the lone 2 drivers that do not have an incident point, Preston Pardus and Will Rogers, that's it. Every other driver has had some form of contact or an off-track excursion. They've had some little incident, but those are the only 2 who do not. The point I was going to make earlier, talking about Josh Slate getting done with college, we can't go any further without
Hold on, Blake. Death taxes. You said it. David Schildhaus's crash. This is in the S's. He was trying to avoid Case Kallenbach, who was off the pace, and he dipped the tires and got off and hit the tires in the corner.
Contact with Seth Eggert off of turn 5, and this has really closed the gap between first and second.
Down to a second.
Jacob, congrats on graduating. Okay, I got it out there.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you.
yes.
Appreciate it.
Wanted to find a way to fit that in, as we're going to take a look one more time here what happened to David Schildhaus. Oh, man, he had to lock up to miss Kallenbach and right into the tire barrier.
Again, the no margin for error at this track either. You know, you'd expect a track so challenging. There are many tracks on either the M&R schedule.
Alex LeBay's pitting. Strategy.
I remember LeBay also, Jacob, pitted at the halfway caution at 35 minutes, so he's pitting an extra time. He came in with Carruth in the 024s. It looks like right in front of the race leader, and the 8 machine is able to get out of Cabot's way. I think we'll stay clean there, but that's interesting there. An extra pit stop with 22
Oh, Roger Carruth has gone off in turn 4. He just crossed over David Schildhaus. No contact made. But he was in 4th and was trying to maintain a gap over Preston Pardus, and now Pardus has passed Carruth for 4th. See it one more time. Yeah, I think Schildhaus was, oh man, he has drifted. The fact that did not end up worse, he did an incredible job of wheeling that car so that by the time he hit the grass, the nose was pointed where he wasn't just going to fly right into the tire barrier. So I'd say a little bit of a mistake right there, but impressive recovery there for Roger Carruth.
Yeah, he should have been wrecked. He should have been firewall deep into the tires right there. That's a wheel man.
The gap for the race lead, as you can see on your screen, down to a half a second. It was once about 4 seconds. Now Karam within a couple of car lengths of Adam Cabot.
And now that there are no lap cars in the mix, Blake, it's only going to help Karam's case, a driver who's been so fast all night long and has capitalized on the mistakes by Cabot as well in this specific run. And now he's got the opportunity within striking distance to do something. The next car up in line is Presley Sora, but remember, they just came down pit road. Him and it looks like Bailey Turner in the 5 car and a couple of others will also hit the pit lane for what may be the final stop for fuel in this Tufco Flooring 120. So we'll see. But Karam now with a clean sheet of paper and Adam Cabot directly in front of him to challenge for the race lead.
Not only that, I think especially here down the Andretti straightaway, you get a ton of draft. You carry a lot of speed. And so if you're within about half a second or so of that race lead, it really just pulls you right in. It reels you right in, and you could see how much ground Karam was able to make up there into the final set of corners. So we've seen a number of drivers make their way onto pit road. Both your race leaders are in. Karam makes up all the ground and is within mere inches, almost makes contact with Adam Cabot. So your top 2 will come out almost dead even. I wonder if we'll see a pass here on pit road. Cabot turns to his pit box. Karam, though, he'll have the lead pit box, so could that help car 43?
And Rogers pitted as well, so Raja Karuth takes the lead. Pardis takes over second. Let's take a look at the racer off pit road because it's coming. Cabot goes. He's going to beat Karam off pit road. Almost identical times in the box. In fact, Karam, his time in the box, 0.2 faster than Cabot. The difference was entry and exit. Cabot, 0.3 faster coming on and getting off of pit road compared to Karam. That's your difference, and that's going to allow Cabot to pull away just a little bit.
Man, Karam did a heck of a job making up.
Trouble, Sora. This is in the S's. Just got a little wide, and he's broken that thing. You can see the left front is not facing the correct way. That thing is mega broken for the Shaq Eyeglass 98. That is tough break for the reigning champion, defending race winner last week.
Oh. And tough hit there for Presley Sora, who, again, I'm sure is very happy that he got that win last week with just 2 more races remaining before we start the Season 6 playoffs. So Raja Karuth inherits the race lead. He is going to stay out onto the racetrack. If he doesn't have to pit, he may be in a very good position. If he does, the battle is between Cabot and Karam has had a much better outlap than Adam Cabot, as he's made up nearly all the ground he lost in the pits.
Going through lap traffic also played a factor in that as well. The 17 had many chances where he had to slow down and give up time to that 43. And you look on board with Karam just wheeling this thing, entering turn 2, a place where so many drivers have had a plethora of mistakes. They both go through cleanly. This is going to be a fantastic battle. Maybe if we see Karuth and Pardis come in for pits and give up those spots. But I want to know exactly what's going to happen here with the 024 Karuth here, Blake, because remember, Alex Lebay pitted with Karuth at the halfway caution, and Lebay made an extra pit stop earlier on with a couple minutes ago. So does Karuth do the same? Does he have it?
Oh, Cabot is off in turn 5, and Sage Karam takes over as Cabot made a slight mistake, no doubt. Feeling that pressure from Sage Karam. He nearly rejoins right into Will Rogers, but Adam Cabot, another mistake, and so Sage Karam will take over 3rd running spot.
And he just drives it in and just gets a little too wide, and that's all it takes. As your race leader, Raja Karuth, is on pit road, and he slides it in on pit entry. Preston Pardis will stay out. He will take over the race lead, and Raja Karuth has a long trip down pit road to his pit box. As here comes Sage Karam, he'll come around and he'll take 2nd to turn 1.
So assuming that Pardis cannot make it to the end, and I can't imagine a scenario where he'd be able to stay out 17 and a half more minutes, he'll pit, and then Sage Karam will inherit the race lead, and then you'll have Will Rogers right behind him, or not right behind, I guess you could say 4 seconds is right behind him. He'll at least be running 1 position back. But man, Cabot,
trouble, Pardis! Save it!
How did he save that?
I'm feeling that's it. He's coming to pit road this time. He used up those tires every little bit he could. Now it's time to hang it up.
What a save. I mean, that is such a difficult place to save that, and he did it.
That's going up the hill, ended up grabbing some gravel too, and still got the car straight. Jacob, you're right. I think if you had that situation, you're like, yes, pit road now, please, because we'll see what Partis does though coming into turn 10. No, you'll stay out this time by final corner.
Well, and it makes sense only because these guys have only been pitting for fuel. Nobody's really been taking tires when they come onto pit road. So for Partis at this point, he would pit just for fuel. So I think he's got to go around again, try and cool off the tires here a little bit, and try and regroup, calm down, and get things rolling.
So Preston Partis going to have to pit here at a certain point. Sage Karam in second, who will, we think, inherit the race lead. We just got a reminder from race control. This is a timed race, of course, so no green-white checkers. If we were to get a track blocking caution, which at this point I don't really know if we have the numbers for that to even happen. Really, I mean we have so many drivers. You can see David Schildhouse has gone off once again, but we've dropped about 20 drivers from the running order that are out of this race. You can see them on the left-hand side of your screen with the gap. So many are just flat out not in this race anymore. They ran off twice, and they don't have the capability of fixing their car in time.
And also, top 10 are the only drivers on the lead lap. You see, after Connor Berry, 11th place, Chase Cabry is a lap down, and everybody below a lap down or more, or like you said, like out of this race for good. So it's been such a tough combo tonight for everybody involved, and only the survivors are left. But even then, I don't even think we would be able to see such a big crash because the restarts are not happening. Everybody's mostly running under green. There's no cautions. And also all the crashes we've seen are single.
Oh, there goes Partis! That's your leader!
And he'll hit the tire barriers on the outside.
Oh, that's going to be it. That's your race lead, because there goes Karam. He goes right on by. And for Preston Partis, as he gets it rolling, trying to grab a gear, he's going to drop to 5th, maybe worse. But no meatball flag. The suspension appears to be okay for Preston Partis, but definitely a scare. Bouncing it off the tires once again in tricky turn 2. But Sage Karam now, Blake, almost over a 3-second lead over Will Rogers. And Partis, he almost wrecks it again coming into turn number 5. Way too hot. Off track he goes. He's in the wall. And if he didn't break the suspension that time, it's a miracle. Hard shot, concrete, and he's around.
It has not been a good few laps here for Preston Partis. Loses the race lead, but is going to lose a lot more by the time he comes down. And we'll take a look one more time. The trouble spot for everybody, at least recently, has been getting it. And you can see there he hops the curb. So that started a ways back in turn 4. He got the curb with the left sides and just never got back control of the car before entering Moss Corner.
It's sort of a triple threat there, Blake. Once you're going downhill, going back uphill, there's so many bumps in that transition once you get to Moss Corner, and then as you're making that little kink, going so fast and hopping on the brakes at the same time, that car really doesn't handle it by itself, even if you're on the racing surface. But just grab that little curbing, also clipped a little bit of the grass, and it really made the car unstable. And Partis, unfortunately, grabs the wall. Looks like he's able to mostly escape as Cabot almost goes completely wide. But just before Moss Corner as well, going downhill, luckily he's able to keep it on track.
Saw them go by Justin Melillo a little bit earlier, which, you know, he said a little bit earlier, I'm just going to try to stay on the racetrack, and that's netted him about 3 or 4 spots since that restart. So it has worked out for Justin Melillo and a number of others. Again, I wouldn't say everybody left on the racetrack is a road course maestro, but they've just done their job. They've come out, they haven't pushed the issue too hard, they haven't wrecked, and as a result, they're going to get out of here with some really good finishes. You think about Josh Slate right now running in 16th, and a couple of others who are fighting kind of around that top 35 line. This is really going to help a couple of those drivers out.
How about Ford Martin, Blake?
Yeah.
P10 on the lead lap. This is and not to knock his Preston Partis just wrecked again. This is turn 5. He just came off pit road and he wiped out. again got the grass, and it looks like he followed another car off there, Jordan Buster. But with Ford, he has had an incredible race. A couple mistakes here and there, but he has done pretty okay. And I think this is huge for him to get his mojo back and get his confidence back, because he has struggled over these last 2 or 3 seasons of M&R and has really been trying to find his footing in going to tracks and getting a good run out of it. Tonight, he's proving that, he can hang around in these deals. And, he proved it last week in Indianapolis as well. Had a really good run there before some wrecks got him collected later on. So Ford Martin right now, I think, has to be a sleeper that, we end the regular season at Talladega. He wins Talladega. He's in the playoffs, and he could sneak in there and make a run.
He really could, and that's a great point that you bring up here, Jacob. And I wouldn't write off these last few tracks that we go to either as well for Ford to try and make something happen, as a lot has changed since these grid rival matchups. I think you could pretty much look at a head-to-head matchup and just say if they're left in the race, they've probably won. I think it's probably the safe thing to say.
Well, the closest battle here is Rogers and Cabot sitting 2nd and 3rd on the racetrack right now. I think that's the closest, and those two are still alive and well on the racetrack with a potential chance to win if they can get around Sage Karam in the last 10 or so minutes. But yeah, you're right. Almost every battle here listed. If they're still here, chances are they've got the grid rival betting rights or bragging rights for the next race.
They certainly do. You can see Colin Fern right there off of recent performance was favored in this race. Adam Cabot was as well. You can see how that worked out for Cabot, who was in contention for the race win even just mere laps ago, but without a mistake from Sage Karam is likely not going to be in contention as Karam. That gap.
Trouble. Bailey Turner again, turn 5 in the hairpin. Keeps it off the wall. Just a little slide, mowing the grass, gets it back going. He's a lap down right now in the 13th position, and he's got a ways to go to get back to 14th. Garrett Smithley some 14 seconds back. So it's still, the bedlam continues here from Canada, even though we only have 10 cars on the lead lap, Blake.
10 minutes or just under 10 minutes left in this race. And, I got to say, I think there are a number of drivers who are pleased with the outcome, or at least where they're running right now. Of course, we still have 9.5 some odd minutes that
Pardus again. Man, he did it again in turn 5. The same thing he did before, right before he pitted. Just drove it in way too deep, slapped the concrete with the driver's side. And remember, he is still on the lead lap. He's back up to speed now, still in 9th. No meatball flag yet, but I can't imagine the left side suspension is happy with driver number 42 right now. That was an identical crash and another really hard hit.
Yeah, it's been that trouble spot for Preston Pardus as of late, but I guess the point I was making before I get inevitably cut off by another crash was that Karam is not playoff eligible. So even if he were to win tonight in his M&R debut, he's not in a position to qualify for the playoffs. He would have had to have started at least half of the races in the regular season to be eligible with a win to make the playoffs. So I can imagine, Kenneth, there's a number of drivers who are kind of okay with that, because you don't get an automatic winner or somebody who's outside the top 12 to try and get into the postseason. And a number of drivers, as we were talking about, who are right around that cut line, Will Rogers being one of them, are very satisfied, I think, with a good points run tonight. Alex LeBay being another one. Raja Karuth, we know he's on the outside looking in right now. So a number of very solid points opportunities for these drivers should these the current running orders stand at the end as our final results. They got to be pretty happy with it.
Yeah, for sure. It's also a double-edged sword as well. I mean, you look at Sage Karam, first ever start. It's someone like Corey Heim, in a way, from last season where he was late in the season, obviously not eligible for the playoffs, came in and started winning and dominating races like Karam has done tonight from CTMP. But you look at the other side of Rogers' situation, even for Cabot as well, this could be a possible opportunity to be a winner if Karam, let's say, was not partaking in tonight's Tough Go Flooring 120. And Rogers, at the cusp of the cut line, he can immediately lock into the playoffs. Same deal for Cabot, who has the highest amount of points out of anybody in the grid, and just below all the drivers who have had wins in the first 5 races of the season. So you look at that as well, that the possible opportunity at a race victory was staring them in the eyes, but Sage Karam has been unbelievably fast, and we have to give credit to the 43 for being a masterclass of a driver all night long.
He has done his job, and he just has to do it for a little while longer to try and win this race. But that battle for second is starting to brew up a little bit here. Will Rogers has not exactly driven away from Adam Cabot, and we could have a battle on our hands here about 5 seconds back from your race leader. And we'll see if Cabot has anything to say after making some of those mistakes, if he can try to get back up into second.
Well, and this is the only battle on the racetrack right now, at least out of those that are on the lead lap. And even looking down through, I think it's the only battle for position between the entire field right now that's at least within a second. And Cabot has kind of been lurking around that half-second margin over Will Rogers. I feel like Rogers has been okay, and the only thing keeping Cabot back, maybe not the dirty air, but I think Cabot has made some mistakes, especially at this part of the racetrack. This is the spot coming up out of the Andretti straightaway where it seems like he loses a little bit of time to Will Rogers and then uses the rest of the course to reel him back in.
See if he has enough to put together a number of solid laps. I mean, you think we're just under 6 minutes left in this race. They're running 118, 119 lap times. So you got to think you only have a handful or so of laps to try and get it done. But I think Cabot, there's a reason he's run down Will. And even Will that last time ran down your race leader, was just a touch faster. Karam in a little bit of lap traffic. He passed Robbie Lyons. He's going to have to go by Ford Martin here in a minute and put him a lap down in the 10th position. But I also think, Karam, you've built up a lead for yourself. I think Sage is probably going to take it a little bit easy. Adam Cabot probably not so much, as he has caught up to Will Rogers.
Yeah, for Karam, Blake, in this case, he's on cruise control. He's on that Sunday drive because he knows, especially if he hears that the battle for second is closing in and Cabot may put something to Rogers here for P2 in the closing minutes, he knows that he can take it even more conservatively. He doesn't have to push the car all too much with that 5.6 second gap. And Cabot able to reel in the number 7 machine of Rogers, and will have a chance coming out of White's corner to be able to build potentially what might be
trouble. Reed Wilson. Reed Wilson has gone off. This is again in turn 5 in the hairpin. He was running inside the top 10, and he just really overshot the corner and went hard into the tires. That suspension has to be broken, and it is on the left front. He's limping it back to pit road now. As here you'll see the replay. No contact, no anything. Just dips him right there, gets him loose, and he's off and hard into the wall.
Looks like Raja Caruth may have spun off of turn 5, and he did. He looped it around a little bit, but again, still has about 10 seconds between he and Reed Wilson, so that spin will not cost him any positions. Just above 4 minutes. Oh, Caruth goes off again, though, off of turn 2, into the barrels. That may be enough to lose a spot. No meatball flag as far as I can see for Caruth, as he nearly makes contact getting back on. Gary Sexton had an issue, so we'll chronicle that. But now the battle for second is on, and oh, it is a meatball for Raja Caruth.
Yeah, I didn't think that contact was bad enough to break the suspension, but turns out the suspension on Raja Caruth's car was made out of aluminum foil and toothpaste. It did not hold up. And he's going to have to pit here in these final 3 minutes. That's crushing for Raja Caruth. Was inside the top 5 all night long.
That is tough for Raja Caruth, as Karam is off about 6 seconds. But this is the battle, the best battle going on the racetrack right now. Will Rogers and Adam Cabot with just under 3 minutes to go. Probably going to be, what, I'd say 2 more laps. Or if the checkered flag waves, I don't believe we get the white flag when that timer runs out. We get the checkered flag. So you probably have, yeah, I'd say another 2 laps if you're Cabot to try and make something happen here.
What's going to make things more interesting is Ford Martin, the lap car, I think just got in front of the number 7 machine as they come up the Moss corner. The 17 is there, but cannot do anything to shake the 7 Rogers for the moment. I was about to mention that Cabot ran a little wide off of turn 2 and got loose coming out of Quebec corner turn 3, so had some problems catching up to the 7. Now is through them in, and on the Andretti straightaway, like you said, Blake, with the final opportunities looking him dead in the eye to get around for P2.
A solid couple of corners there for Will Rogers, able to stretch back out over Adam Cabot just a little bit. It's kind of the front end of the racetrack, I would say. Cabot has the advantage, and then the back end of the racetrack, the backhand set of corners for Will Rogers, where he's able to move that 55 Toyota just a little bit away from Adam Cabot here. But just about a minute and a half left. We'll try to watch this race for second, but guys, I think we got to give a nod to Sage Karam as well, who has just been so consistent at this road course tonight. Not only has he had the pace, but he has not made the same mistakes that we've pretty much seen everybody else make, whether it's even Rogers or Cabot who are running second and third, even Alex LeBay. Karam has matched his pace with no mistakes so far and just has a little bit further to go up the road to try and get the job done.
He had the misfortune of dirty air, and that was really it after the first green flag stop that we had before the caution. So other than that, he has been perfect all night. He has been the fastest car, and we think here, coming around through the final couple of corners, that he's going to get the white flag this time by. So this should be the last lap of the race as he gets into some lap traffic. Met Stallneck, Preston Pardis. Stallneck heads to pit road, and this is it, the last lap here from CTMP.
White flag in the air, one more trip around in the Tufco Flooring 120 for Sage Karam. They'll also see the white flag for second position right now. Will Rogers and Adam Cabot, one more chance to try and get it done. And guys, I have to remind you, this is Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. We've seen a number of aggressive moves into turn 10. So if Cabot is close enough in striking distance, do you think we see that out of these two?
Probably might, but I think the biggest bet for the 17 here, Blake, is turn 5 and Moss corner. That's been the best braking zone for the 17 in this last run against the 7 Rogers. They'll come down the hill, they'll go back up, and it looks like Rogers goes for a slide into the braking zone. Cabot will go. Will he strike here? The answer might be yes, and to the inside he'll go for second.
Oh, Rogers made a mistake there getting into Moss corner. Adam Cabot takes advantage and goes through to the second position. Does Rogers have anything left, though, for Adam Cabot? We'll see if he's willing to be the driver who gets it done. He has a 0X, but into the final two set. Well, yeah, exactly. Into turn 10 for the final time. Checkered flag in the air, and Sage Karam will win the Tufco Flooring 120 at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park and will go to victory lane in his M&R debut. Adam Cabot just behind them will hold on for second. Will Rogers in third. Alex LeBay finishes in fourth, and Joey Padgett, as of now, he still has about 20 more seconds left in his lap, will complete your top 5 if he is able to hang on. But guys, it is all about Sage Karam tonight. A dominant performance, and again, mistake-free. That was the difference.
You have to give props. Despite all the trials, all the lap cars, the drivers going off track, even in front of Karam, he never got unfazed. And Karam, in his first ever M&R start, just smoothly moves to victory lane. A fantastic race put up, and really probably the only perfect driver all race long. And you have to give all the props in the world to the 43. Another different winner, the 6th different winner in our first 6 races. So again, no repeat. And again, much like all the other races we've seen, Blake, we continue to see many different outcomes. And I think that's only going to make the race for the playoffs much more dynamic and much more intense.
It certainly is, and you got to think that if we're seeing a little bit of what we saw with Corey Heim in Season 5, remember what he did. He didn't just come in and win a bunch of races late when he wasn't in playoff contention. He went on a string. He went on a hot streak. He had a number of wins late in Season 5. Could we see the same thing for Karam, who is not going to be a factor when it comes to the championship, but he can certainly put down some race victories in the win column and affect, I wouldn't say affect the running of the playoffs, but kind of taking a spot from somebody who could lock in. We'll see if he can do that as Corey Heim did, as Sage Karam will burn it down. We will hear from Sage Karam, Adam Cabot, and even Ford Martin on the other side of this break. Don't go anywhere as we continue post-race coverage from Canadian Tire Motorsport Park.
Visit our website at toughgoflooring.com.
Get the edge on your competition with P8 Performance Gummies. Formulated specifically for gamers and the esports industry, we packed our gummies with all the good stuff, including ingredients that are clinically proven to help tired eyes, improve reaction times, and help suppress computer vision syndrome. Take your focus and endurance to the next level and try P8 gummies today. Now available at procelerate.com. Plus, if you're mad about gaming, we're looking to partner with influencers just like you. Drop us a line at support at procelerate.com to see if you qualify to try our gummies for free. It's officially game on with all new P8 gummies.
I ain't trying to bring you down, but for real, you might as well give up now. Think you got a chance, but I don't see how. Got a real tight grip when I hold that crown. My life been good and bad and all around. The more things I lost, the more I found. Everybody wanna be like us, we don't stop, cause the top just ain't enough. I'm the first one in and the last one out. Whoever owns the place gotta drag me out. Came here ready to fight on this night, you better just run for your life.
This is an Interstate battery. More pros trust this than any other out there. Yeah, more pros. More. Even more pros. Keep going. Moss. Look, we're gonna run out of time before we run out of pros who like Interstate. I mean, we'll run out of time before we even run out of left-handed pros who knit. These pros are everywhere, which means so is this battery. Right around the corner, up the street. Everywhere. Interstate batteries. Outrageously dependable.
Back with you here on Podium Esports for live coverage of the post-race show here today from Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. As you can see, the running order, and there's a lot to cover here, Kenneth. Sage Karam, your winner. Adam Cabot, second. Rogers, LeBay, and Paget, your top five, as we call it across the line. Raja Caruth falls back to sixth, but a solid point stay nonetheless. Connor Berry finishes in seventh. Reed Wilson, eighth. Preston Pardis, the final car on the lead lap, in ninth. And Ford Martin, one lap down, but he brings it home in 10th.
You could really give a storyline, Blake, to each and every driver, and that goes the same for drivers like Nick Olsen in the 24. He comes home 11th. Chase Cabre, who was running the top five in the first half of this race, got into trouble, fell a lap down, and could not rebound. He comes home in P12. Bailey Turner in the number 5 car ends up P13. It'll be 14th for Garrett Smithley in the 78 machine. DJ Cummings for Crypto Autosport rounds out your top 15. Josh Balicki in the 79 will be P16. Josh Slate in the 01 final race as a college student comes home in P17. Robbie Lyons will be 18th. Justin Malillo rebounds from a crash in the middle of the race to 19th. And David Schildhouse, we saw him run out of fuel twice on the racetrack this evening. He brings the 20 car home inside the top 20.
That man just does not quit. I can't believe he finished in 20th after everything he had to go through. Seth Eggert finishes 21st. Presley Sora finishes 22nd. Jordan Buster finishes 23rd. George Belfance Jr. 24th. And everybody from here on out had some issues tonight and had a pretty wrecked race car by the end of it. Gary Sexton 25th. Matt Stolnick 26th. Colin Fern 27th. Steve Affont 28th, James Bickford out of the race in 29th, Michael Fisher in 30th, and everyone here on out, Blake, did not finish.
No, they did not. Chris Weaver, Brett Baldeck, Case Collenbach, Ronnie Osmer, my pick, which we were just talking under the break, a real tough hit in the points tonight for me. He's not been good these last couple of weeks. Brandon Brown, Michael Massey, Max Kennan, Ryan Vargas after an early spin, Leighton Sabile, Corey Heim, and Stephen Ellis in 41st. Made up your 41 drivers who made their way out to CTMP tonight. And the happiest one of them all is joining us in victory lane. Yet another debut victory here in Monday Night Racing. Sage Karam. It was a dominating performance. Congratulations on your win tonight. How fun was it to run a combo that I'm sure is a little bit different for you these next gens here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park?
Yeah, no, it was a lot of fun, to be racing out there with all those guys. That's one of my favorite tracks in the whole entire world. So I always just loved getting able to run anything there. And, this was really the first time I dabbled with the next gen car on iRacing. So on a road course, that is. So it was a lot of fun. It was really cool. It's a lot different from what I'm used to as far as the Xfinity stuff. So, it took a little bit getting used to, but once we were able to kind of lock it down a little bit, it felt pretty good.
It seems like everybody's kind of tabbing you as an up-and-comer here on the real-world side of things. How much does iRacing and being able to kind of experience, these, of course, it's a little bit different than real life, but to get that experience in something that you haven't run in the next-gen car, how much does that kind of help you prepare when you're looking forward to these race weekends in NASCAR?
Yeah, I mean, for me, NASCAR is a completely different world, and I'm learning so much, and I'm basically learning from the ground up again. And a lot of the tracks I go to, I've never been to. I've been to a lot of racetracks in the country, but, that's on the open wheel side. So there's a lot of tracks that I haven't gone to in real life. And iRacing is a great tool for me to be able to go to the track before I actually get to the track. So when I do get there in person, it doesn't feel as foreign. And I think iRacing does an incredible job with, scanning the tracks and, like I said, you don't feel like it's foreign when you get out there, and it's quite enjoyable to drive. So I think this is good for all drivers coming up through the ranks, to be able to try different cars, try different tracks. And when I went from go-karts to cars, this was how I started. But before I got into a Skip Barber car, I got on iRacing, and I would do a bunch of laps. Me and my dad would take me up there and make me do 100 laps at Sebring every night for the shootout, and we ended up winning that shootout. So that was kind of how it all started, was here on iRacing.
That's an awesome story. Well, Sage, I hope that we see you out here more. I know this is an M&R debut for you, and it's victorious, but I hope that we see you out more. We got a lot of exciting combos coming up. So congratulations on your win tonight. And again, I hope we see more of you here these next few Monday nights.
I'll definitely be back. Thank you, guys.
Sage Karam, your victor tonight at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park in the Tough Go Flooring 120. He gets it done for Alpha Prime Racing. And Adam Cabot, he was one of the favorites tonight. I think according to Grid Rival, he was second, I believe, looking at those odds. And he has caught up with our Kenneth Bueno as he finishes in the second position.
Indeed, here with Season 4 champion Adam Cabot, who comes home in P2, one of the fastest cars all night long. And Adam, I would usually ask you what were the keys to success, but I think in tonight's context, what were the keys to survival here at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park?
Well, right now I've got the finishing order up on my screen. I see 9 cars in the lead lap and 5th place 47 seconds back. So honestly, I'm going to have to take a look back at that replay and find out what happened. But it was like a mix between a multi-class race and a demolition derby out there tonight. We had cars like literally 20, 30 miles an hour off the pace, which was unfortunate because it seemed like when I was leading, I would catch them in the absolute worst spot. And, I'm trying not to be overly aggressive, but they're just like, pretty much completely stopped in the racing groove, and definitely slammed into quite a few of them and gave up the big lead that I had over Sage. And then eventually I messed up in the keyhole, which is what happens every time. I think I've raced here 3 times, and that's the 3rd time that I've literally given away a win going off the track there. So it's tough because it's a corner where if you hit it right, you can take the risk and gain pretty much like a full second. But
you're playing with fire. You just go off go in there a hair too hot, and you put a wheel off, and you're pretty much done. But yeah, I mean, key to survival. Obviously, everyone's probably gonna say the same thing, which is just keep the tires on the racetrack. But I guess that was easier said than done tonight. But overall, great run. I should be happy, but I mean, I really don't have any business running with these guys on a road course. So it's really cool to have the speed that I have. It's kind of come out of nowhere with this next gen car. It's just really clicked with me on road courses and have a blast driving them. But it seems like I'm kind of cursed not to win a race in them. So no matter what league I'm in, but we'll hopefully figure it out and get to put a full race together. But I guess I can't be too upset losing to someone as talented as Sage Karam. So congrats to him, and we will move on with the second place finish. And I think that'll give me the point lead. So I'll try not to be too down about that mistake at the end.
Indeed, that's true. You were the highest driver in on points coming into tonight's race. It looks like, obviously, with everything that's happened and where you're finishing P2, it's going to be the same case. Now we head into the final 2 races of the regular season. 87s at Auto Club, Next Gen's at Talladega. What's your approach to lock into the playoffs on points or get a win before the regular season closes?
A win would be fantastic. But right now, the goal, honestly, is to win the regular season championship, since I think with the drop week, I was a few points behind Presley Sora, and I'm looking at the top 10, 15. I don't see his name. So, 22nd. All right. So he had a bad night. That's good for me. Pick up some positions on him there. Hopefully just get good finishes these next 2 races. I really want to get a win. It's been a while, but if I get that regular season championship, I think that's 3 bonus points for the playoffs. And anytime you can get any bonus points for the playoffs, it's a big head start in these guys.
Well, nonetheless, I know that you got a top 10 at Indianapolis 1 week prior, top 2 here tonight from Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. A fantastic amount of momentum you're building for the end of the regular season. Adam, on behalf of our team at Podium Esports, congratulations on the P2 effort here from Bowmanville, Ontario, Canada. We'll see you in 1 week time at Auto Club.
You got it. Thanks, Kenneth.
That's a 17, Adam Cabot, fast all night long and comes home in P2 out of the drivers in the running order. We'll talk to a driver, though, who finishes inside the top 10 and definitely worked for every last position. It's Ford Martin who comes home inside the top 10. Jacob Hitz, you're caught up with him.
Back-to-back great runs here in M&R. A strong run last week in Indianapolis. And the IndyCar is a top 10 here tonight. You're clinging to the lead lap for most of the night tonight here from CTMP. And Ford, it seems like the old Ford Martin that we saw in Season 1, Season 2 of M&R that was up at the front in contention for wins. It seems like that Ford Martin is back, huh?
I guess I guess the competition has stepped up, and it's made it where I've had to step my competition up. I will say, though, you started the season with the 6. We went on a stretch of races where I couldn't get past 25th. And in the last 2 races, I've been running at Fox Sports. Now I've been running my Next Level Racing rig, and I am having back-to-back top 10s, I think, for the first time since Season 2. So I got to give a big shout-out to Next Level Race for sending this rig. It must be good luck, something, I don't know, but yeah, it's great. I had a good strategy there, and to stay on the lead lap, taking fuel only. I didn't take tires the whole night. Took fuel only that green flag stretch, and when they pitted, it was only 13 cars in the lead lap, and I was one of them, so it kind of worked out.
Now, did I understand through the iRacing chat that you had some assistance in at least making the call strategy-wise tonight?
Yeah, had a little help. I tell you, Colin Fern definitely told me, he's like, hey, tonight, you gotta, he said, tires tonight. I don't think you need to take tires at all tonight. And I said, really? Really? And I listened to Colin. I was messing the chat saying thanks Gil and everything, because I can't tell everybody in the chat, thanks Colin. Gil, my father. But thanks Colin, because I don't want to, make Colin's ego bigger, obviously. So, it's a big help to him. He helped me out a lot with that, and a lot of practice time. And Dad did send me a message before the race: just stay on track, and you're gonna have a good race no matter what. So, followed his advice tonight, and how about that, P10?
Well, congratulations on the top 10 tonight. Now, I'm curious, 87s at Auto Club next week. What's your mindset going into that?
I'm really excited. I think it's going to be not only a great race, but I've always run well in the 87s. At Michigan, I had I think maybe 2 seasons ago at Michigan, that's somewhat similar racetrack. Ended up, running top 10 almost all the race, and got caught up in a late race wreck. And I cannot wait. This is one I had circled on the calendar, which I think is not only, like I said, produce great racing, but it's going to be a great race. So I am pumped. I can't wait. It's going to be a lot of fun. So I think we're going there. I never thought I'd be in this position to be here on the playoff bubble. So now it's time to really just lock in here. Not only try to make sure these drivers in our league are happy as being the league owner, but also try to focus on the playoffs. So we'll see what happens.
All right. Well, thanks for your time, Fort. Congrats on the top 10, and we will see you next week from Auto Club.
Great. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for doing it. Nash Collection, Next Level Racing, Tufco Flooring for sponsoring this event. I want to thank all of our sponsors, BST Shocks, Roasted Gems Coffee, everybody that helps support our league, Grid Rival. I want to thank everybody for their support, and we're glad to have all the fans watching with this as well tonight.
Ford Martin, 10th place here tonight from CTMP, one of the better finishes of the season for him so far, and in contention to have a shot and race for a championship throughout these next couple races. Just 2 races to go before we set the field. Blake?
I was about to say there's not a whole lot of time to get it done, and I think even Ford kind of mentioned it at the end with his comments there, looking forward to the 87 cars at Auto Club next week. Kind of a huge difference here between what we ran tonight, the next-gen cars at CTMP, and then moving on to the 87s at Auto Club. But that track is going to be wide. Those cars are so difficult to drive. They're entirely different than just about anything we use with the modern-day stock cars, so it will be a fantastic challenge. We've seen a lot of great races at Michigan, but I'm looking forward to it because, one, I just love those cars. They put on amazing racing, but I'm excited that M&R gets to experience that as well.
It's also hard to believe, Blake, that it's been more than a full season since we've had the 1987 cars on display in this league. Last time it was at Michigan in December during season 4. So it's been a little while, almost a full year since we've had the 87s on track in M&R competition. So that means it's going to be a lot of reacclimation for a lot of the field, much like tonight was with the next gens on a road course. And we'll see how well that pans out. We've seen a lot of strategy races come off of that, a lot of fantastic finishes to follow in pack racing as well. So I think that may be the great equalizer, at least other than next gens at Talladega, that last race of the regular season, for all those guys and all the hopefuls looking to be into the playoffs. So next week is going to be big. I know the regular season finale might be touted as the biggest, but I think next week might also be the most pivotal for that playoff race.
Well, and speaking of that playoff race, Jacob, looking at these last 2 races, we have plenty of drivers that are going to get in on points. Do you think there's anybody, though, that we haven't seen win yet that is probably not going to be in a great point situation that you think can maybe still get it done here in these final 2?
Well, there's one guy I can think of right away, and it's Anthony Alfredo. Remember, Alfredo is going to be outside the top 35 after this week is done. Now, the one thing that I think might help him is the fact that he at least attempted these last 2 races before tonight where he couldn't get in because of his internet. I think that'll save him as far as you have to attempt half the races, more than half the races, in order to be eligible for the playoffs. So I think that saves him in that regard. Remember, he won 2 plate races last season in the regular season. Won the season opener at Daytona, and then won at Talladega later on that season. I think he's got a great shot to find a way and make it into the playoffs. Not on points, but on winning a race. And you also have to look at somebody like a Ford Martin. He could come into Talladega and pull off a win and make it known that, hey, I'm going to fight for a championship this year. So we'll have to wait and see how things pan out. But tell you what, next week I think is going to be the bigger wild card than Talladega. Everybody knows what to expect with Talladega and the next gens. Wild racing, 3 wide, 4 wide, wreck. With Auto Club in the 87s, you've got a bumpy racetrack, you've got a really out-of-control race car, and when you put those 2 together, you're going to get a lot of guys that are spread out, and you're going to see spinning, contact, crashing. It's going to be a wild card next week as well, but for a different reason in the fact that we don't necessarily know what to expect.
No, and I think especially with these cars, they are so much different than everything else that you can be pretty fast at everything we go to, but when you tackle these cars, they're going to present a new challenge to these drivers for sure. But ladies and gentlemen, we want to invite you to stick around for our continuing coverage here, the Monday Night Racing Pro Series presented by Interstate Batteries. We're going to say goodbye for at least our partners in the broadcast booth, for our producer Ryan Bauer and my co-announcers Jacob Hitz and Kenneth Bueno. I'm Blake McCandless saying so long from the booth, but we will toss it down once again to our friends Brendan Huff and Michael Massey as they will take you through the rest of the Frontstretch Post-Race Show. Guys?
Thanks, Blake. Well, everybody, we're back here. Another Monday Night Racing recap show presented by Frontstretch.com. I'm Brandon Hoff. That's Michael Massey. Well, Mike, I told you before we came on the air, we were going to talk about three things. I think the main thing we need to mention is two things. One, how dominant Sage Karam was tonight. And two, 9 cars finished on the lead lap at a 41 in a road course race that took an hour and 20 minutes. I mean, it was a crazy race for, only one caution at halfway, or about halfway. I mean, what was it like from your perspective? I know some trouble struck you tonight, as it did with many others.
Well, yeah, there was lap 1, turn 1. That's pretty much when my race ended. Ryan Vargas lost it. And I think it wasn't even it was a track blocker. Probably should have been a caution. But I was kind of just, moseying up to it. And then Vargas just backed on out into us and hit a couple of us backing out. But I did get some sweet revenge in the moment. Because when he backed up, he clipped me, turned me right into the wall. And then he was coming back by, and I just backed it right on up into him. So it usually doesn't work out that way to get some instant revenge. But yeah, after that, had some damage. It just wouldn't turn right. It wouldn't turn the same. So drove off the track, used the fast repair, and next thing you know, I eventually dropped out the race, but came back out there, got myself 3 spots, 3 points in that battle for top 35, and then called it quits. So yeah, not a fun night. I just hate for it to be. I hate for it to be taken out of my hands. Not on my terms. But the race itself, I think a lot of people had similar nights. A lot of people drove off track or got wrecked by somebody. It really reminded me of that Mid-Ohio Xfinity race from, 2016?
Yeah, the rain race.
The rain race for Justin Marks. Sage, there was no rain in this race, but
yeah, no.
The combo was so difficult that you had Sage mastered it like Justin Marks did that day and just skunked the field, and everybody else was just trying to stay on the racetrack. So yeah. That's the closest comparison to it.
Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong. I mean, Sage opened up I think it was a 2-second lead right off the bat, which was crazy. I know he has a lot of experience on iRacing. I know he's on here quite a bit. But when you think about it, I mean, his thing used to be IndyCars, which it still is. He still races IndyCar. But, his transition over to stock cars here in the last year or two, in real life, it's impressive how good he's been. And now he hops here on the sim in the next-gen car. He's never driven in real life. And on a track he's probably never been on either. And he goes out here and stomps the field. I mean, that's about as impressive as it gets. But yeah, I believe we have our winner here, Sage Karam, that's going to join us here. Hey, there he is.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, Sage, how's it going tonight? You got the big win tonight, your first M&R start. How's it feel? How you feeling right now? What did it feel like to put a stomping on everybody else like you did tonight?
Definitely wasn't a stomping, I don't think. It was really, really tough. I mean, that's a pretty hard combination, but a really fun one for sure. I didn't have the best qualifying, but I had a good qualifying. I would definitely take where we qualified, and I was able to get through the turn 1 mayhem a little bit and grab the lead. And then from there, it was kind of just put in solid laps, and we were able to do that. But then, unfortunately, I made the mistake of taking tires on the first stop, and it really hurt the pace in the middle of the race. And that's when, after that that restart after the yellow flag. I nearly binned it on the restart, and then I was having to drive for everything I had to stay in striking distance of the leader. And I knew it was going to be really hard to get around him, but I just had to try and stay as close as I could and hopefully make a mistake. And fortunately, that is what happened. But I wanted to see what would have happened if we would have been able to race that one out at the end, and I think it would have been pretty exciting. But overall, I mean, it was a great experience, a lot of fun, and I can't wait to do more with these guys.
Yeah, explain that situation for the viewers that aren't familiar with it. Basically, it seemed like the tires would hold up, and you were kind of in worse situation if you put new tires on, right? Because they'd be cold, and then plus the time it takes to actually change tires. Is that kind of what the situation was?
Yeah, I mean, I had a pretty decent margin when I came in to the pits, and I do not believe Raja took tires, and he cut that distance to me, more than half. Just from sitting in pit lane a bit longer, the fuel definitely beat the tires, so that was one thing. But then the new tires, for some reason, not for some reason. I mean, in real life too, they're definitely cold and slick the first lap, but it was just really, really hard to get grip in them the first couple laps. And I don't know. I've just always known of new tires to kind of be the call, and tonight they weren't. I don't know if it's just the track was super cool, and I don't know if that played into that, but yeah, that was definitely a strange one. But it took half a stint really after having stickers on to really get the grip you wanted, and it just seemed as the car would run longer and longer, it would just keep going faster. Like I started putting in my fastest laps of the race right at the end, so. Yeah, I wish I didn't take tires there in the beginning, but it was a mistake that I learned, and we just had to fight back from.
Yeah, for sure. Sage, talk about, we know you've transitioned from IndyCar to stock car quite a bit the last year or two. You never stepped in the next gen car in real life, so you can't really say how it feels on a road course compared to the sim in real life. How much of that real life experience do you think paid off tonight on a road course? Because you did drive an Xfinity car on a road course this past year. So how did that experience, you think, help you?
Yeah, I mean, definitely the Xfinity car is quite different from the next gen, handling wise. But it did definitely give me some, things that I knew going ahead of time, like just with stock car stuff and with braking and shifting, stuff like that. That I wouldn't have known if I didn't race in real life. So, that definitely helped. But I think what iRacing does really, really well is the scans of the tracks. They do a great job with that, and the tracks are super realistic. To the part where I really do use iRacing as a tool to learn places that I haven't been. This track in particular, I've been to in real life, and I've done a lot on the sim as well. I raced IMSA at this track, and also some open wheel stuff. So I have some good memories at this place, and it's definitely one of my favorites. So when I saw they were coming here to race, it was definitely one I wanted to get involved with, and I knew this was going to be a decent one for me, just because when you go to a track that you like, just that confidence helps. But I didn't think I was going to be able to pull out a win. So it was really cool. And there's a lot of really good drivers that are in this series. And like I said, it was not easy. I had to be on it every single lap. And every lap you feel like you've made little mistakes. And those little mistakes were so on the edge of ending it.
Yeah, so it was recently announced, a week or so ago, that you're coming back to run some races for Alpha Prime. What I think all the fans at MNR are kind of wondering is, why in the world do you want to work with David Schildhouse some more after this past year?
David's a good guy. I'm not gonna bash, but no, he's a good dude, that I met obviously this past year racing with Alpha Prime Racing, and that kind of not really knowing each other grew into a friendship quite quickly. And he was actually the one who kind of pushed for me to come race this series on Monday nights here, and it's been a lot of fun, obviously. But we've been joking. He kept joking with me like, "Come on, like let's come race," and I was always like, I'm gonna bring the smoke. Are you ready for that? And he said he was full ready for it. So I brought it tonight for him. So I hope it's all good.
Yeah, I'd say so. I saw on Twitter a while back when you tweeted the pen emoji, and his reply to it is, "Oh, you're announcing that you're signing with Monday Night Racing." So it's good banner there. But yeah, once again, congrats on the win. Slow down a little bit next time you're racing with us, okay?
Okay.
Easy.
Yeah, no, the road courses I think will definitely be my strong suit. The oval stuff, I'm not like that tonight. So especially the 87 car. I don't even know if I own that car, so I got to get working on that.
Oh, get ready for that, because unrestricted over 200 mile per hour speeds, those things are a handful too.
It's fun. It's fun. You're gonna have a good time, especially at Fontana.
Yeah, that's a track I've been to in real life as well, so I like that place.
For sure.
Yeah, for sure. Well, congrats, Sage. We thank you for joining us tonight, and looking forward to next week.
Yeah, sorry about the dogs in the back, but yeah, I'll be there for sure.
All right, sounds good.
Thanks, guys.
Yep, thanks.
Sage Karam.
He says he didn't. Yeah, he didn't say he said he didn't put a whooping on the field, but I mean, let's face it, it pretty much was. But our next guest tonight is going to be Alex LeBay, fourth place finisher, I believe, tonight. There he is. Hey, Alex, how's it going tonight?
Hey, pretty good. Are you guys?
We're good. We're good.
Well, not as good as you getting that top 5 on the night.
Yeah.
How did you feel? Did you want more, or were you kind of happy with the result?
Nah, for sure. Qualified on the pole, and I just made a mistake early. I forgot on a cold tire. I spun it in the backstretch and hit the front end pretty good, and for some reason it just wouldn't take the fast repair. So I just felt like I was probably given like 2 to 3 tenths every lap. This car was just not optimal, but it is what it is. My mistake. I just make too much mistakes, especially in that league. I don't know why. I think it was Daytona, qualified on the pole, was running out front and did the same thing on cold tires after a pit stop. And cost me a win or a good result, but it was a lot of fun. But I would have definitely liked to win it, especially at Mosport. It's one of my favorite tracks.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's I don't know if it's a home track to you. I know it's Canada, but it's as close as it's gonna get, I guess, for NASCAR, right? But yeah. But talk about your season. I know you're pretty solid on the points. I believe you're in the playoffs right now, especially after 4th tonight. What are you got 2 races left now to the playoffs. What are you most looking forward to? I know it's going to be a tight points race until the end here. Looking forward to the 87 car next week. I know that. And then I believe it's the wild card for everybody, the next gen Adega. So what are you looking forward to here?
I won't be there next week, so that's going to be a bummer because and I already missed a race early in the year. We got a family vacation next week, so I'm gonna be off. But I just hope I can have enough points to make it in the cut, especially going to Dega the week after. It's gonna be really tough. So that's why I put a lot of pressure. I really wanted to win tonight. I mean, qualified on the pole, was running out front, but made a mistake. I really needed that win for sure tonight.
What do you think if you hadn't gotten the damage, if you could use the fast repaired, would you have had anything for Sage? I know he was checked out there by about 7 seconds or something, but do you think you would have had something for him?
I think so. I mean, I feel like I had a really good speed in practice. Just I don't know. I just felt like I was always like 2-3 tenths off from where I should be from where I was in practice. So I don't know. It's really weird because we took our fast repair like in the middle of the race, and it just wouldn't take it. It was always staying there, and it was felt like I always kept the damages. But I don't know. It's hard to say. It'd be easy for me to say that I would have something for him. But Sage was really good. He was really consistent. Didn't make any mistakes, and he had a really strong race. So he would have been really hard to beat.
Yeah, for sure. We asked Sage this question about his real life experience, kind of translating over to the sim. I know you've been in stock cars now for a few seasons. Sage transitioned from IndyCar to stock cars here in the last year or two. Talk about Mosport and how it kind of, I guess, how similar it is on iRacing to what it is in real life from your standpoint. I know you probably have tons of laps on the track there in real life. But how close is it, you think? I know Sage was saying how iRacing, he does use it as a tool for his real life racing. What about you? How does it feel like it compares?
Same. I mean, I used iRacing a lot before I went there for the first time, and had a really good speed right off the bat. Qualified on the pole there in the Pinty Series on my second race. I ran there, and I felt like iRacing helped me a lot get up to speed and knowing all the flow of the track and definitely the flow, because I mean it changed a little bit. There's a little bit more escape road, like a escape path now with more asphalt instead of grass all the way around. But the layout is still the same, and just the flow of the track is still really similar. You just feel a lot more elevation in real life, because this place is really intense. It doesn't do justice in the game, because there's you climb up and you step down a lot. Like, especially when you're under caution, you can feel the elevation changes. It's pretty intense out there. It's definitely one of my favorite tracks ever.
Yeah, I want to check that one out someday. See it in person. But we had 9 guys finish on the lead lap. Why do you think it was so much attrition, so much people driving off? I'm guilty myself driving off tonight. But why do you think it was just so hard? And it's like you either got it or you didn't tonight, right?
No, for sure. I mean, the car was a little hedgy, and especially on cool tires for 2-3 laps, it was really hard. You really had to be disciplined. And I said, there's just grass everywhere, especially on iRacing. There's no if you make a little mistake, you put a tire in the grass, you're done. There ain't no way you're gonna save it. So just no margin for error, and a edgy car, especially on the short run there. I made a mistake by myself. I know a lot of people. I think there was a big wreck there on the first lap too, and it was definitely real edgy on cold tires.
Yep. I got collected in that lap one. That was over right at the start. But fortunately, it sounds like you got through it pretty good, and we're able to get a solid top 5. Sorry you couldn't get the W, but good points tonight, I guess. Hopefully next week doesn't set you back too far.
Yeah.
As far
Hope
as
so. Yeah, I think I'm probably gonna, because I missed Daytona, I missed the first one too, so probably gonna be 8 or 9 after tonight. So cross my fingers, I have enough to make it in the playoffs.
Yeah, you're giving yourself a solid cushion here, so we'll see. I think you'll be all right.
You just need the top 10 in points or whatever to just all crash.
It's gotta be tough, especially now we're going to Dega the week after. That's definitely that's the curveball. You never know what's gonna happen there.
That's true. Well, thanks for joining us, Alex. Congrats on your 4th place finish, and we'll see you after the Christmas break, I guess, at Dega with the next gen.
Awesome. Thanks for having me on, guys. Talk to you later.
Yep. Thanks, Alex.
Enjoy the vacation.
Yeah, that too.
No, you're there, not, but oh well. So we're gonna have one more guest. I don't believe we're gonna get video for this guy, but he was the 3rd place finisher.
Myself.
For the race. We have Mr. Will Rogers joining us. Is Will here? Are you here, Will?
Yeah, I got you.
All right.
There he is.
So,
No, go ahead, Mike. I'll let you go.
You had you run second there at the end. What more did you got passed for second, ended up 3rd. What more did you need for Sage? Looked like he was just kind of stomping the field.
Yeah, honestly, I think I needed clean air and probably just a little bit more, I don't know, risk-taking kind of driving. I was trying to be, pretty conservative all night, just obviously not making any mistakes or going off. And luckily, I was able to kind of prove that by winning the Clean Driver Award, which actually, not to make any excuses, but, that's kind of the reason why I let second place slip that last lap, because I was pretty good around the track and everywhere but turns 5A and 5B or whatever they call it. The keyhole, I think, is what they call it. And Adam Cabot, he was better than me there, just willing to take more risks. And kind of gave it up there knowing that he was going to go for that on the last lap and didn't want to take the risk of running off and getting hit and losing that opportunity to make the money. And it happened. So it is what it is. But I think to get to Sage, just, man, a little bit more raw speed and putting the car on the edge.
Well, what makes you so good on these road courses on iRacing? Every time in this league, and even any race you're in on iRacing, it just seems like you're always up front. You're always competing for the win. What's the secret? I mean, if it's not secret, it's all skill for the most part, really. But what makes you so good at these types of tracks?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Skill can come down to it, right? At the least, somebody has to understand racing and racecraft and understand what this move does for your lap right now and in the future, and what it means for everybody around you. So, you have to have a little bit of that awareness and skill, if you want to call it that. But I think most of road racing is a mind game. Like on circle track racing, unless you're Kyle Busch or somebody like that, you're kind of always on the reactiveness or the defense. As where in road racing, I feel like if you can take that mindset and change it to the offense, like, okay, I'm going to make this move on this lap, so in 5 laps I can make this move, right? That coupled with not making mistakes, that's what I think makes a really good road racer. And I'm not saying that I'm the best or really good, but I know how to kind of put the package together. And it's taken me years to figure that out, but luckily I've been able to kind of excel and figure that out sooner than some. And whether it's in iRacing or in real life, I think that's kind of the scenario that comes about. Most of the time I'm able to find myself towards the front of these road races, and I think it's a combination of all those things I just explained.
Yeah, for sure. It shows, the skills show on a night like tonight where we had 9 lead lap finishers. I mean, on a road course, that's just unheard of, right? What was it like out there with just cars sliding off the track, happening everywhere? How much of it was just you kind of just minding your own business and avoiding the mayhem?
Yeah, a lot of it was minding my own business for sure. Kind of looked like a junkyard out there most of the race because we had cars off left and right, some upside down, some in the barrels, some just like doing donuts by themselves in the grass, and I didn't know what the heck was going on. But the lap cars too were really difficult tonight because with that car on that track, Mossport will forever be one of the iconic tracks that were deadly back in the day in Formula One and such. And I think it's because it's such a fast racetrack with so much risk. The grass is so close, and of course in the game, kind of just like real life, once you touch it, it takes you off into the wall, and the walls are close. So, I think that's probably why that was that way. And then when catching lap cars, it was so hard to get around them because some guys are aware, some guys aren't. And just trying to mind your own business was kind of the name of the game. So yeah, it was exciting all night trying to dodge people and also see everybody off exploring in the weeds.
Well, thankfully you weren't one of the drivers there exploring in the wall and the weeds and the grass and the sand, whatever you want to call it. But you came home with a top 5 finish, and I heard you a little bit before we started this show about your points position. Pretty big finish for you tonight. As we are getting close to the playoffs, we have 2 races to go. How do you feel now? You got your top 3 finish tonight. You're going to the 87 car at Fontana. I mean, how are we feeling?
Yeah, I feel decent, I guess. The last few races have been kind of up and down for me. I feel like we started pretty good early on in the season and then had a slump there, but luckily this is a little bit of a rebound. I feel like the 87s at Fontana next week are not only going to be fun, but it could also be really rewarding. But I know it's going to be a difficult race, kind of polar opposite than tonight. So, I hope it gives me enough padding more or less to kind of get into the playoffs, either well into it or just into it with barely enough points. I feel like that's what tonight's really going to help with. And looking forward to next week. We'll see how that goes at Fontana.
For sure. Now you let Adam Cabot get the points, but you got the money, as you said. What are you gonna do with that luscious $100 bill in your pocket?
Yeah, actually, so I let Adam go for that, thinking that no one won it last week. I didn't realize that Presley Sora won it at Indy, which I couldn't imagine anybody winning it there because that was such a horrific race. I feel like for everyone, but turns out I only won $100 instead of the 400, which it's all good. Happy for that. I just got invited to Ford Martin's Poker Night League. And I think I'm gonna go drop that $100 on the league and see if I can walk away with a little bit more. But knowing my stats in the casino, I'll probably lose it all. So, but it'll be money well spent.
Oh no! If like 10 years from now you're like a degenerate gambler or something, we could point to this moment in time, right?
Yeah, and I'm gonna blame Ford for sure.
There you go. Always blame Ford for everything.
Always the scapegoat.
There's nothing wrong with gambling from time to time, but as long as it doesn't turn into an addiction, I guess it's okay, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
for sure.
Unless you're really good at it. An addiction and you can make a ton of money at it, by all means, make it your profession.
Yeah, I know a few people like that, so I'm not one of them, unfortunately.
You wouldn't happen to spot for any of them, would you, Brandon?
I might just somebody.
Yeah. But yeah, thanks so much for joining us, Will. Congrats on the good run. I'm sorry that you don't get $400. I understand that's heartbreaking. But yeah, thanks so much for joining us. Best of luck in your playoff chase.
All good, guys. I appreciate the invite to be on here. Hopefully, I'm on the show again soon. Appreciate it.
All right, thanks, Will.
Thanks.
I'm sure he'll be on sooner than later.
Oh, he will. No, I think he'll win a race, honestly, before long. He might win, or did he win? Did he win already this season? No, he didn't.
Yeah,
He didn't.
yeah.
No.
That's
No, but we asked everybody about next week. What are we thinking? I mean, I myself haven't driven the 87 cars on iRacing. I know how much of a handful they are. You know how much of a handful they are, having driven them, and especially on a track like Auto Club. I mean, multi-groove. You can run the wall if you have to. Now, I've never raced the 87s on that track, but I mean, I feel like that's gonna be a crazy race.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see how it drives because I've only ever done 87s on like Daytona Talladega or like North Wilkesboro. You know, so either like a super speedway or a short track. I've never done them at a 2 mile track like Auto Club, especially one with the tire wear like you have there. So yeah, I can't really say what it's gonna be like because I just don't really know yet. I imagine the draft will probably play a factor. But I think you're gonna have to save tires in a car where, I mean, I always feel like when I drive the 87s, I'm just wheeling it like white knuckling the whole way around. So how do you save tires when you're driving like that?
Listen, I've driven it on Talladega. I think that's the last track I drove it on. And you have to save tires on that track. You have to lift because you're going 220 into the corner. Auto Club, if you go like 200 into the corner, 205. You're going to be lifting. You're going to be going, what, like 150 in the corner? And especially with worn tire, I don't even know. Like, I'm looking forward to this one. I think this is a good track and car combo. I think it's different. I don't even know if the official series goes there. So I really like what Ford and the whole league committee, how they've, chosen the schedule and what they did with this race. Because I think it's going to be really interesting. And especially coming down to the playoffs, like, I know you still got an off week between, we got the Christmas break and then we have Talladega and then the playoffs, but still, like, this is a perfect race, I think, to go off into the holiday break. But, I don't know who's going to be strong. I honestly don't. I think we're going to see the usual suspects, but, unless you have another name in mind, I don't know, but,
It's going to be the usual suspects, but you might get a couple, underdogs, guys you don't really hear about. I know, like, me and Steve Affont, this is, like, our favorite kind of car on the service. So maybe we'll have a little something for him next week, because I feel like the 87s are so hard to drive every car is hard to drive for me. So if you have a car that's if you have a car that's
No,
hard
don't say
for
that.
everybody to drive, then it equals the playing field, right? So
Yeah, that's what it's supposed to do, you know?
yeah.
I mean, that's what we say in real life too. It's like, you know, you have a car that's hard to drive. It's supposed to, you know, level playing field. Nobody kind of knows what to expect. And I feel like this is one of those races because I don't know anybody personally. And I'm pretty sure nobody in the league has probably driven this track and car combo before. So it's like, you know, the playing field is kind of even now. So it really could be anybody's race. I mean, it's not going to be a plate race. I mean, I think we know that. But, you know, I think it's going to be entertaining, though. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, for sure. And another thing, those cars can take a beating.
That's another thing. Yeah,
you'll see some guys driving into the side of each other and then just keep going. So I think you'll see a lot of wrecks, but I think you'll still see a lot of guys running at the finish. And yeah, we'll just see how it all plays out.
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't know that we have the points ready yet, but yeah, check them out after the race to see how I'm sure on the Monday Night Racing Twitter they'll have the point standings, playoff spots, top 35 battle. Hoping I inched my way closer to that top 35 tonight, but I don't know. Not the best finish, but still more points than some people. A lot of people missed tonight.
Yeah, that too. I know. I think Ford had it set up for 43 drivers tonight. Only 41 showed up. No qualifying race, I believe, happened tonight. So, you know, you gained some ground on some guys. You know, and now you seem to have some confidence going into next week. So, you know, top 15 maybe, top 20. That's the goal.
Yeah. Let's do it. Let's get a top 15. I'm ready for a top 10. It's been too.
There we go. Okay, I like it. Aim high. There you go.
I don't know. Maybe I'll get in some practice races or something this week on this car. See how it drives. If it drives right, I'll let you know how I'll do.
There we go. I like the attitude.
I'm excited. This is the most excited I've been for a race in this league in a while. So let's bring it on.
I'm sure you're not the only one too. So I'm pretty sure a lot of guys are looking forward to it. But yeah. And speaking of which, just one last point. I know everybody who watched tonight. You saw the cars getting the barrier or barely tap the wall or whatever, or another car and their car was broke. That's not going to happen next week. As Mike said, these cars are tough. So you're going to bounce off the wall. You'll be okay. You might lose like maybe a mile an hour, but you're going to be fine. You're not going to even notice it.
Tanks.
They are tanks. Yeah, that's the word I was looking for. Tanks. Yeah.
Yeah. But with the cars tonight, we're not tanks. I mean, I hate how the next gen cars, just the slightest little wall rub, knock the wheels out of line. But oh well, I guess we gotta get used to it.
Yeah. Well, you got to drive it again in 2 more races. So you know, I know everybody's favorite. But I think that'll do it tonight for our Frontstretch.com post-race show. I am Brennan Hoff. That is Michael Massey. We will be back here next Monday night, December 19th, following the race next week with the 87 cars at Auto Club. We'll see you guys next week. Have a good night.